up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast, number 473. I think we had a miss again. I think somewhere in the counting I missed, now that I think about it. I think somewhere there I had a little bit of a glitch in the matrix, and I might have
never miss
471. We never miss. In fact, in one of the, we do long podcasts, so maybe one of those podcasts is worth 2 podcasts. Maybe that's
it's like the wizard thing where they are never late, they arrive precisely
precisely on time. Yeah. That is true. What overall, what have you been playing like this week? What have you been jumping into?
I started playing Senua, and I've played quite a lot of Balatro. So you guys talked a lot about Balatro, the indie roguelite poker-based game. It's a lot of fun. I was doing a little bit different stuff this week physically, a little bit more away from the PC. Just kind of get, the circulation and everything. So I did a little bit more Steam Deck this week, and that's where Balatro is a banger, because you sit back and it's got some nice music. You can go in, do a run, and that's a really nice break, if you want that 30-40 minute break from something.
Sort of leap into it. Did you did say you watched a little bit of the podcast, a little bit of the Wednesday podcast. Did that get you interested in like Elden Ring and replaying it, or?
I think so. Yeah, I thought it was first of all, I love hearing Cowboy talk about games. He's excited about games. I've told you this separately outside of the podcast, but I love people who are excited about stuff, and they get driven, they get as opposed to the apathy or the kind of
downer,
cynical downer, depressed. So I was happy to hear him talk about Stellar Blade as well, which is a game I really liked as well. I think for Elden Ring, I'm a bit on the middle. Some people are super hyper to explore a new area. I have a little bit of exhaustion thinking about exploring a new area right now in Elden Ring, because I have played some of these games with big areas recently. But I think it's going to be fun. It's one of those things, like, I don't know if you have this, but I love taking showers, but I hate the moment of like stepping into the shower. But once I'm in, I'm flowing. It's a bad metaphor, but you get what I'm saying. Like, once there's a friction to get into it. But I think that once I do, and it's like, okay, this is how you move in the game, this is how you do stuff, it will all kind of, reignite my interest.
Dude, I find it especially, what's going on, Flip Cup? Hey, Jay, Amnesty, Robert, Alexander, you guys have probably noticed that we started this a little bit differently. We're going to try to do it this way, because we'll be switching the podcasts off of the main channel to a side channel, because it's absolutely destroying the viewership on the reviews. So this will probably be the last podcast we do here, but we'll do some alerts and some reminders. But we started this one a little bit differently, where we just jumped straight in instead of doing an opener, because even that ends up absolutely hammering shit. I would say, yeah, dude, when you look at so you were talking about this is so weird, because you were talking about getting into the shower. The thing I don't like is getting out. And the cold, no matter how warm you are, you're instantly cold. Even if you take a cold shower, you're cold. That transfer of heat. And weirdly enough, that does translate to sort of how I enjoy these games, of like when I'll be playing a game, if I want to actually stop playing the game, or when I have to actually sit down and say, okay, the review's ready because I've played all of this, or I've played, I've beat it, I've experienced what I want to experience, and now I want to move on. And with Elden Ring, I feel like when I jumped out of the shower, when I got done with Elden Ring, the desire to get back in and then feel that cold response of leaping out again is really not there. It's really low. And the great thing about Elden Ring's DLC is it releases when not a lot's out, but the general apathy I'm seeing around it, not in an angry way, not in anything, but like, okay, you talked about this prior to us starting the podcast. It's like, oh, it's supposed to be challenging to everybody, and a lot of people are looking at it going, do I want? Do I want that? So it's going to be exciting to see who jumps into it and how it does. I'm excited for it. I mean, I'll definitely check it out. I'll watch somebody's, streams of it or watch people stream it in a Discord, but I'm not necessarily immediately wanting to jump in. What's up, Amudski? Disaster. Alexander, thank you. Oregon Fresh, what's going on, guys? Thanks as always for joining the channel, jumping in, super chats, all that kind of stuff, and becoming a YouTube member. You're all awesome people. I absolutely appreciate it. Let's talk about Doom. So there's more and more rumors that, there's a new Doom coming, and we talked about this already with Eternal and what we want to see with a new Doom. But I was going to ask, do you think Doom has the same fanship it did before? I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like maybe because there's so many boomer shooters on indie, I'm going to call it boomer shooter so that we don't have to sit here and talk about the dumb terminology. But do you feel like there's a chomping at the bit for Doom like maybe we felt with Eternal? I feel like with Eternal, there was a lot of chomping at the bit. Maybe because you came off of 16, and so there was this excitement. But I don't know if there's a general excitement. I guess we'll have to see. But like for
it's
you,
a good question. So I think for me, there is something about the state of flow you get in some of those games with the music, especially.
Yeah, true.
I can see myself getting into, if I'm in that space of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's cathartic. I think that's something that not a ton of games give you, because you're like, when you're playing that, you it's not a podcast game. Let's put it that way. Like, you're not really having bandwidth to think about other stuff or listen to other stuff. So it is pretty much like you're full in. I appreciate those games as much as I like the podcast games too. But I like that stuff where it feels like you jumped in for 3 hours and the time flew by. I think that's where they thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 2016 one did a better job of that because there were less things to think about, with the jumping or with the kill conditions for different enemies. It was a bit more kind of free form. But yeah, I like both of them. I think I'll definitely play any new Doom game that comes out.
I would also love to see what the graphics are going to look like now, because it's been, they definitely, I think, look amazing. But I want to see, what exactly we see. I would say with 2016 and with the sequel, I felt there was a little bit of cartooniness that was there that might slightly go away as we step up, whether it be ray traced. I mean, I could see them trying to push ray tracing and, to a next level in it, or path tracing or something like that. I don't necessarily want it because I like the high FPS, and I feel like we're consistently fighting ray tracing versus FPS right now. And I don't think that I personally, I mean, anybody in chat, and you can correct me, I don't know about you, but I feel like the trade-off isn't worth it a lot of times. Like the FPS drop is so precipitous, man. You go in and you look at the FPS drop when you turn on ray tracing, you're all, holy crap, I'm losing like umpteen, and we're on 4090s, and you lose it. Like, you can see it on a 4090. You're like, damn, I'm seeing. I mean, like 30
dude,
FPS.
Recently playing Alan Wake 2 on my 3090, I turned on RTX, and in that initial forest area, I was hitting like 20 FPS.
Yeah.
At 4K.
What about people in chat? That's a good question. And people in chat, are you guys, like, what do you think about RT? I mean, are you, like, ignoring just the graphics stunning moment part, but when you continue to play a game, do you find yourself, like, would you guys rather have, let's pretend that they're going to hit 60. So let's pretend they're going to hit 60, even with ray tracing, but above that, do you find yourselves like, would you rather just be able to turn it off and have a silky smooth kind of response above 60? If a game comes in at 60 with RTS, is that where you're going to sort of sit? And the other question is, have you found a game that you like that's authored with both ray tracing and not, that you actually like better without it? Because I do have two examples. Weirdly enough, I like Control without ray tracing. I've now decided, because I've been messing around, I think Control is authored very well without it, because they authored it for it looking good regardless.
Was there one thing you noticed there that you said like, oh, this looks better, or I like the look of this better?
It's that ray tracing has a tendency, while more accurate, the artistic styling is neutered, because think about it this way. The more ray tracing you use, the more accurate it's going to hit for the most part. And that accuracy means a neutering of difference between other titles, because they're all hitting a center line of accurate lighting. And so there's something about the lighting. And again, people are going to say, oh, well, they can adjust the lighting to not be accurate. That's true. But a lot of devs haven't got that far yet. So you're seeing this sort of neutering where things start to look a little alike with ray tracing on.
Yeah.
There's a little brightness here. There's like blown out foliage here. And sometimes, this is going to sound weird, sometimes when I see blown out foliage, I think to myself, that looks cool. And then a minute later, I'm like, but I'd like to be able to see the leaves in a sunny day. You know what? Like, so you know what I mean? So you get, this happened with EMBs. I don't know if you messed with Skyrim, but Skyrim had a lot of EMBs, which is your ability to adjust the whole lighting set in Skyrim. And people for years were doing sun-baked, which looks cool for a moment, but then it starts to look baked. Like the term itself, it starts to look like everything's just, you know, like you can almost hear the light burning
baked as in
into
like
things.
warm?
Yeah, warm or overly bright, almost like you have the oven light on and you're watching your shit cook versus having it off and you're looking at a delicious steak when it's done. Weird metaphor, but that's sort of the only way to describe it, and it can definitely feel that way for me. Asking in chat, it looks like Dan says, I think we can all agree Doom has to be silky smooth. Yeah, there's silky smooth. Craig Jackson
Is that
said,
a game? Go ahead. Sorry, continue. You're reading up.
Okay, I want to do two things. Craig Jackson says, I was going to say Control without any ray tracing. I prefer. I played on PS5. Also, Craig, are you the guy who's edited for me in the past? Because you have the exact same name, and I believe you are. I just wanted to say, if you are, thank you very much for your past work on the channel. Night of Virtue, fast-paced games don't need RTX. I'll take higher FPS. Vimmer says, I want to buy a 4070 Super. Ray tracing is effing awful. I mean, I can see people thinking that. Chris says, like RT in some games, but I don't care for 4K 1440p is king for me. I think that's fair. A lot of 1440p seems to be sort of a good middle ground. Craig says, no, I'm not. Okay, well, thanks for being a subscriber to the channel for a long period of time. Just as helpful. Yeah, I don't know. Exodus looked great, ray tracing. You always hear Abzy talking about it. Oh, people are probably wondering, why is it just Johnny and I? Because Abzy had a business situation over the weekend, and he talked to me about it at a couple days. And then Silver was riding around on his mobility scooter, and I think he got a flat, he said. And so he was stuck. And so he was contacting me. He was trying to get on, but he just kept contacting me saying they're still not here. So it's just Johnny and I holding up the entire event by ourselves. Let's see. Alexander says, got my first ever ticket to QuakeCon this year. I certainly hope there's a new Doom. Oh, QuakeCon the event? Never gone to that event. It's very interesting. A single game can have an entire con.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't aware, that was still going on.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a ton of new stuff in that space.
Right, yeah. I don't even know what they do. It's probably a lot of mod stuff, maybe, and a lot of multiplayer games, and, I don't even know what version would play. If they all went, like, what do you agree on is the version you play?
Yeah.
But I'm seeing a lot of rumors popping around about Doom and hearing a lot in DMs and, sort of trying to figure out exactly what's true and what's not. But looks exciting. I think Doom might also be a little cathartic right now because you have a lot of service games. You have a lot of, Xdefiant, we'll talk about in a second, is, as a mediocre game, it's not bad, it's not great, but as a mediocre game, it's doing insane numbers. And I'm wondering if there's some thing that we can take from that, mentally, if there's a thought process of like maybe a game that just delivers consistently indicates, and the big jump for people playing it indicates people are really burned out by all the other stuff. And so something that just works day one without all of the rigmarole is super attractive. So, sometimes you just want to play something. What do you think about
that's what I liked about, just to say on that, that's what I liked about Stellar Blade 2 is that it was, they took a shot at the game they wanted to make, and it was the whole thing like day one. You got all the outfits in there. It's not like you're having to pay a battle pass to unlock outfits or anything. Yeah.
Carrick, were you saying earlier that you didn't see excitement for Shadow of the Erd Tree? Well, the story got 4.1 million views on Bandai. Not too bad. not too bad, but also means nothing. We've seen videos get 16 million views for trailers, and nothing has turned out from the game. The trailer, I think, is an indicator of people being interested in the trailer, but that doesn't always indicate interest in sitting down to play another 60 hours of it. And I think that that's where we're talking about. Also, as I said at the starting, that doesn't mean I don't think a bunch of people are playing it, because it's also at a good time period. There's not a lot of games. What I'm saying is I'm seeing a lot of apathy towards jumping into another one when I feel like we're starting to hear a lot of burnout, because there have been a shit ton of Souls-like games that have come out. I mean, in a small period of time. And some people haven't even got to Lies of P yet, or haven't got to Lords of the Fallen yet. So, but yeah, it's got great views. I think the one thing that I'm not talking about necessarily is die-hard Elden Ring fans, which there's more than 4.1 million. I think there's probably double, triple that.
That's very true.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is we'll still see those guys go in. I would go in, but I think a lot of people sort of looking at it are like, I don't necessarily know what I want to hit here. Hazel, $5 super chat. Are there any games you really enjoyed but feel like you never hear people talk about? For me, it's Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, and Enter the Gungeon. It's a good question. I hear Enter the Gungeon. I hear about that, but I don't hear much about Bridge of Spirits, even though I somewhat liked it. What's another game that we like that just maybe came and went? Anybody in chat can answer too. A game that maybe came and went. We don't hear much about anymore.
Yeah. The Prince of Persia one, the Metroidvania.
True.
Was a solid game.
It hit hard in that aspect. And funny enough, Fighting Cowboy mentioned how much he liked it, but it's weird because it's like liked it, done.
Yeah. You know, moving on completely.
Moving on. Yeah. The moving on thing is what's worrying me about games right now. Is the I don't know how to describe it, even if they beat it, but that in and out. I think the game industry is in for a weird situation where a lot of people maybe are getting them and not diving in. And currently a lot of gamers or a lot of game companies are trying to report on Steam Concurrent. To give you an example of this, Johnny, I don't know if you saw this. There's a big write-up about Helldivers being less people playing, and it's still 100,000. And yet the clickbait article was like, Helldivers has lost a majority of its player base. And I'm like, it's a service game. It's not dying at all. It's a service game that started out super high and is still high enough that 99.9% of AAA titles would kill for that level of people still playing. You know? So it's just like
it's perspective, kind of right? There. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they removed the perspective for the headline in a way.
Pow World too. Yeah, Dan. Pow World has, I've seen 4 or 5 different videos saying the exact same thing about Pow World. Oh my God, look at the drop off. It's like, drop off? At what point do you want people to just live in your game forever? You know, there's gonna be drop off. There's drop off in YouTube channels. There's drop off in viewers. There's drop off in anything because it's not new anymore. You know, then you have new content, but it's not a whole new event. In a weird way, I think that's sort of YouTube channels. In a nutshell, the same thing happens. Let's see. Old Boy says too much supply, straining. Could be true. Could be true. Star Ocean 2 remake was dope, and I never hear about it. Damn, that's true. I don't hear anything about Star Ocean. Do you? Nothing.
No, nothing. I think also people have gotten used to having to, play through a game and immediately, boom, there's another one that they have lined up because there are so many releases, a bit less now, so people can catch up. But definitely, end of last year, there was a crazy timing for releases with like Baldur's Gate and some giant games coming out. And even actually early this year with Yakuza. And I forget what was the other one, but there were like 2 big ones at the time.
It's funny because people are talking about other games. Scarlet Nexus, I definitely would say, is one that came and went. I think Stellar Blade is stuck around not because of the sexuality discussion, because that was sort of neutered right away. Unless you were a clickbait channel, that came and went. But it stuck around a little bit because I think people were playing a couple other games, and so I noticed we had some people jump in right away. Then they heard people liking it, Because I think there was some trepidation around that. Because the demo, Fighting Cowboy said the demo told him he would like the game, and you and I think, agreed. I could be wrong on this, but I think we agreed that the demo didn't sell us. I don't know. I don't know if that's true for you, but the demo didn't sell me on the game too much. It made me think just even keel. I was like, oh, there's some stuff I like, some stuff I don't, and I ended up liking the game. Yeah, I was pretty
lukewarm.
Yeah,
after just the demo itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Pitchfork says trailers can also bring people in for being bad and revealing things people don't like, so it's not a good metric to follow. That is true. I mean, views are views, right? You never quite know. But like I said, I'm certainly not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying I can see an apathy. I think last year would have been a better time. Yeah. I think people would have been a little bit closer to the fold of Elden Ring than they are now.
It's also characters like a transfer factor from people being interested in the game, and then how many out of those people actually go on to play the game. Right. Some people just want to consume content on the game. Some people just want to be aware of what it is and what it's doing. They want to be in the zeitgeist, but they don't want to go in, pick up a character, and, get into the details, figure out the gameplay, all that stuff.
Dude, I know a lot of my friends did not buy Baldur's Gate 3, but they watched Let's Plays of it. Because they were just like, I want to imbibe content on it, and it's a good story. It's very easy to watch those Let's Plays because it's a good story, and a lot of Let's Players don't skip discussion or whatever. They let the game play out at that speed, so they felt they were watching episodes of a TV show, and I think that's awesome. What's up, Javier? Gang, homies. How's it going? Stellar Blade just added a boss rush mode. Yeah, I saw that this morning. It seems pretty cool they did that. And then I saw some people saying that they thought 40 was too much for the DLC. I personally don't. I don't know. I think 40 for a big expansion is fine, but that's just, we'll have to see how it delivers. I don't know. Does that stick in your craw? $40 for a big expansion from Elden Ring?
It sounds like they're going for something pretty ambitious, right? And judging by their past DLC, it's always been quite expansive. It was like a fleshed out entire area every time with tons of like high quality bosses and stuff. So that to me is a lot more than your average DLC.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's more along the lines of the old stuff we used to see from Bethesda. Shivering Isles, those Far Harbor, larger ones. Woodpit says Starfield update was amazing. Unlocked frame rates, really improved everything. Yes, it did. Craig Jackson says Carrick, the DLC has 30 new songs in it. Huh.
Nice. You know what's funny about that, dude? I keep hearing about people saying how amazing the soundtrack is. And it is. I'm not saying it isn't. Right. But I don't remember a single fucking song. Because I'm in a boss fight. Like, I'm clenching... Right? I'm just clenching my butt.
Hey, Melina, could you stop for a second? I gotta listen to this amazing bass beat.
This is a banger. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Could you please hold on? There's a trumpet playing.
Yeah, hold on. This part is great. Just give me
a good trumpet heat in the background. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to stop attacking me. Yeah, I would agree with you. I found I really like that kind of music, but I'm with you. Other than Hellblade, where it wasn't super difficult, there's a moment there of synergy between the gameplay and the music in Hellblade 2 that is phenomenal. For the most part, I pick up on it when I win. I pick up on it when I explore, when there's a story moment and it's poignant at that story moment and it hits right. But in a boss battle, I probably don't hear it unless I play the boss battle a lot.
But it does elevate the experience because it's a hype moment, right? You have the meme about when the choir begins, you're in trouble because it's when the boss comes out. Yeah. So it definitely works for that.
When you go into that spot and they come out and you hear that,
it's a circular arena.
Oh, dude. Yeah, the telegraphing. The telegraphing. Or there's a cliff. And you can go down it, and you can see like an opening, and you just know no game has me leap off this cliff that's unpassable. You can't go back. No game does that without a boss battle. Or when you go up to a room and there's a door shut and there's a bunch of shit outside in boxes, and you're all, this is prepping me for a boss battle. I just know it. You know, there's like 16 potteries there that you can smash to grab yourself some health. You're all...
You know, it's still better than the games that give you like a save sphere or something right before a boss, or like tons of, you know, refill your health and like pick up ammo and stuff, but just a ton of it to the point where it's obvious there's a fight right there.
Yeah. Let's see. Butt clinching music. True that. The Elden Ring DLC is the only game I'm looking forward to this year. Excellent. Very difficult poll to answer. This is Pitchfork, who says, I play a lot of DLC, but it depends on the timing. So your answer is yes. I think that's fair. You play a lot. Sin says the update puts Starfield back into my daily gaming rotation. Yeah, and here's the thing. I'm going to straight up tell you, if you say that kind of stuff in this chat, for the most part, our chat's really positive about that kind of stuff. And I want to say how much I appreciate it a lot of times when somebody will come in with a game that is contentious. Hellblade, Starfield, Days Gone. I remember doing streams and Days Gone had come out, and, you know, it was like somebody said they liked it. Just this world of hate towards them that you would see. But in our chats, for the most part, people are like, hey, man, I'm just glad somebody's liking a game. Yeah. And I definitely want to say how much I appreciate that kind of stuff. And people just sort of being open to everybody liking whatever they like. Old Boy says, all the From faithful I know are climbing the walls until they drop the ball. They deserve day one. That's interesting, because I don't think anybody deserves day one. You just get day. I don't know if deserve is a thing, man. But that's because we live in a post-cyberpunk world. So I just don't... I'm not even negative towards stuff. I'm more along the lines of just measured.
Like cautious.
Yeah.
Optimism.
Yeah. Because I've liked a lot of bands that have a shitty record. Right?
Yeah, they do. And,
you know?
And
Spaghetti Incident for Guns N' Roses. Sorry.
Yeah, you start listening to it and you're like in track 3 and it's not clicking.
Dude,
and you go,
worse.
No, hold on.
Nothing
number
worse,
4
man.
or 5
Yeah.
is going to be
You're
the
like,
banger.
Number 4 is going to be a banger and wrap all this up.
And the banger just doesn't come.
It doesn't.
You know?
You get to the B-side, you know, that what used to be the old cassette B-side, which is like track 8 or 9, and you're still going like, there's no singles on this. There's even a single for me. There's nothing on here that hits. Occasionally, I'll get that CD that's got the one good song, and that's sort of like Cyberpunk had 1 or 2 good missions or 1 or 2 things going for it until they patched it up. Like that's how games work, and yeah, that's why I'm a little bit more measured. Frankie Donuts, $5 super chat, just because. That's probably your best, or probably the best description for anything we do in games, just because. Dan, $5 super chat. Do you think Xbox will have a 5th Xbox first-party exclusive this year? It seems like they have so many games on deck, and it will push GP with Call of Duty. I have heard that there's something going on behind the scenes for a sort of a shadow release, and there were some rumors last year. But right now, I do not... So, the rumor game is weird, guys, because one thing I found out about 2 years ago on accident was that a lot of people who spread rumors pretend to be different people spreading rumors to multiple groups. And this has happened before, and we've seen it before. So certain things I'll spread. Like we know now that there is AC Aztec. I was wrong in saying it was going to be the next one, but it is. I should have said it's going to be the next one I'm interested in. Though I think Shadows looks... Unreal, with Halo going to Unreal. The reason why I'm pretty solid on some rumors is because of the people I'm talking to. Some of these rumors that I hear are more just chatter, and so I would say the shadow drop, the weird things going on with Xbox and certain titles that might be dropped, I think that's more nebulous. Also, I got to tell you guys, I don't think shadow drops work. Let me describe that. Shadow drops work for me and Johnny to talk on a podcast. They work for surprise, but do they work for sales? And here's the reason why. There's no reviews. There's no coverage. They're a true shadow drop, right? Nobody has leaked it. Nobody has talked about it. And I think that there's a feedback loop currently that is still running that a shadow drop skips. I think your best bet is 3 months prior. I think a 3-month surprise or a month surprise. But I think a shadow drop, I know a lot of people who didn't get Tango's game. Hi-Fi Rush. I know a huge number of people who didn't even download it because they didn't know. There was no info about it. None. They just saw this game that was like a tempo-based game or a rhythm-based game. And so for them, they just, they didn't feed into it. But I don't know, man. And I'd be excited to see what any of these companies are doing because I think this winter is fairly lean, straight up. We just discussed it in our chat, and it's lean. It's really, really.
For that stuff, you're talking about that, and you kind of brought up the other day that, well, we said that streamers are now the kind of new best way to advertise a game instead of just billboards and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an issue there too. If something is shadow dropped, it also means that you didn't arrange coverage with people, right? I mean, maybe you did behind the scenes, but
arranged coverage that's shadow dropped, where you can't say you're shadow dropping the arranged coverage, means people may show up and wonder why you're playing this game. They may be like, why is he playing? Oh, it's a shadow drop of Hi-Fi Rush. There may be somebody going, well, I thought you were continuing your Erdtree playthrough. Like, now you're doing Hi-Fi Rush 2. So it shortchanges the entire experience, and I love the idea of it for talk and for excitement, but excitement doesn't always mean buys. It doesn't always mean purchases. King says $2 super chat. Do you guys think Xbox gets criticized harshly or fairly? I think it gets criticized by some harshly and some too fairly or too positive. I don't think there's any way to draw a line and say everybody does a certain thing in any kind of coverage. They're a big company, and I think that also lends, a fight against the man. Regardless of any positivity. So, no, I think you just have to find somebody that you trust their coverage. I think that you see a lot of negative stuff for anything currently because it makes bank. You see a lot of, there's a problem here. This is for sure. Oh my God, what's happening? Blah, blah, blah posts because they make bank on bank. I was talking to somebody who does a lot of negative, and I was asking them how much they made. And I can tell just by looking at the numbers and see their subscribers or their user base go up because negativity sells. Let's see. Typically, I listen on Spotify at 1/4 speed and now able to catch you live. Now it sounds so weird, Adam says. Well, we can talk really fast if you want. Let's go, Johnny. What do you think? I really like dogs. Do you?
Oh my God, I can't do it. I get so nervous. Yeah, I can't do it, man. I speak slowly, like naturally. But you're already at 1.4 speed, so someone dialing you up.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say when it comes to criticism of any of the companies, I've seen it unfair for every company, and I've seen it fair for every company, and I've seen it too soft for every company. That's life. If you believe a certain thing, that's on you, and you can feel free to do so. But as somebody who has seen people do clickbait on something that requires nothing, as I just stated at the starting of the podcast, that happens for everybody, just the way it goes. Goes for me, too. I've been criticized for stuff that makes no sense, and I've got away with stuff where I've even said it after. It's not usually a review, but I'll say something. I'll be like, yeah, that probably wasn't the proper way to say that. And people give me a little leeway because maybe they know I dropped dick jokes or something. I don't know. But
Jenna Hayes jokes.
Couple Jenna Hayes jokes. You gotta fill it up with Jenna Hayes jokes. King says, I was speaking for their games, but thanks for answering. Oh, you were talking about their games criticized. I will say this. I do not think they probably... no, it's the same thing. Up and down. It depends on the level of criticism. But I will say that at times, people have a tendency to forget that they do have some bangers, including like Forza Horizon, which I still think even these later ones, which may have decreased in their overall punch when they hit, are still pretty fantastic titles. And I think that there's a forgetfulness that can occur at those times. But let's see. How much does negativity act in sales? Oh, huge. This was interesting. There was a really good GameIndustry.biz article that they were talking about how even a single streamer having a bad situation, a technical glitch in a game, can cause a game to see a stop in sales because Steam developers can see their sales happening. And they can see that there's some issue. And it's like people were going to buy, and then it went like, roll, and it dumped. And they were watching, and then they fix the tech issue live on stream sometimes, and then it goes back up. And it's like, ooh. Let's see. Given the scope of AAA games, do you guys think it's unreasonable to expect 100% issue-free games? Do you think we should expect 100% issue-free games?
I think 100% is an impossible number. Just that. I would say it depends on the scope of the game and the type.
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense to be a bit more lenient with games that are attempting something unprecedented, right, in scope or just in nature of what they're doing. For example, you guys talked about Hellblade 2. It makes some clear compromises in, gameplay and inputs and things like that, responsiveness, to favor immersiveness and what they are trying to do, which makes sense for what they're trying to do. But again, you could technically point those out as weaknesses too, if you think the gameplay isn't satisfying. Or
yeah, you could. I mean, what's a bug versus the authorship of the game and the desire to deliver a certain game? And what's funny is I don't know of a game that I haven't had a bug in at some point. Raving Rabbids, Mario, fucking Elden Ring. I mean, Elden Ring's patch was a disaster. The day one patch, Spider-Man 2, the biggest companies, the smallest companies, bugs are prevalent because it's code. And I don't know of any code ever. I don't know about you, Johnny, as somebody who codes for a living. I don't know of any code that launches bug-free. It just isn't really a thing because it's code. It's not perfect. Like, there's going to be somebody who breaks something. There's going to be some situation that happens technical. You might have a video card that doesn't have enough texture, and you didn't, or a texture RAM, you didn't test that one as much, and they have an issue at a certain level.
And with that said, we still have to appreciate that some games do it much better than others when it comes to quality control and how prevalent the bugs are, or how wide impacting.
Also, as we've talked about, it's your level of identifying what a bug is or not. I've seen people, I mean, I remember watching Cyberpunk, and I saw people distinctly streaming the game, some of the biggest streamers saying there's no bugs in Cyberpunk day one, watching their stream while people T-posed and flew into the sky. And they were like, oh, there's no bugs. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're right there. So it depends on your level of intimacy and how you want to report those bugs, and that kind of stuff. But it's an interesting discussion regardless. And I'm just happy to see all these games. We get some problems, that sucks, but overall, I like it. What you're saying, I do sometimes GPT-4 Turbo. What was the question?
They were asking if I use AI to code sometimes.
Oh, yeah,
and I do, especially if I'm starting to learn something, or there isn't very good, documentation. Yeah, exactly. Because the AI does a really good job at just scraping every little bit of data, right? And like, it's able to build an example for you, maybe, of something you're trying to do, and then you take that on and create something.
Yeah, ChatGPT has been great for coding for me, learning, messing around like you're messing around with Unreal, messing around with a different engine.
Yeah, for sure.
Being able to ask it, like you can ask Unreal, you can ask it and say, why is Unreal known for handling this better than Unity? And it can give you a generalized, pretty good answer of what you may want to look for when you jump to one of those engines. That's not even asking it for coding. That's asking it for the idea, sort of what you want to do in the future, and prepping you. Instead of you having to DM me or Reg or whatever, because we've done Unreal, and go, hey, I have a question. Does it do this well? You can go to ChatGPT and you can get a better answer overall how it's done. And,
or like,
as long as it's not
if
lying.
it gives you an example, you can actually ask it, but wait, what is this variable doing here? And it's able to tell you, well, this is doing this or that. And that's not something you can get in just a Stack Overflow post, or like a forum or something like that. Interactivity, like you're saying, if you have someone you can ask, that's different, but even they may not know that specific detail. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's useful.
Yeah, I think it's very useful. Moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about Xdefiant. So, dude, the numbers on this are insane. Had 1.2 million people playing it day one. Unique players at least playing it. To me, it's that solid middle ground. It doesn't do anything great, doesn't do anything terrible. But 1.2 million players is a good number. Ubisoft has been looking for a title like this. I don't know if you checked it out, but I have. It is very by the numbers. Very by the numbers. And I really do think that people like it because it's very by the numbers. The finals is about destruction. so and so other shooter like Rainbow Six is about small buildings and being in there. This is just running around shooting people. That's not COD, because COD has already been out for a while. It's a new thing in that sphere. It's that middle ground game, and I got to say, I'm really happy to see people enjoying it. But it's so funny because when I talked to them, we had somebody enjoying it today in the chat, and I was like, "So what do you think of it?" They're like, "It's okay. It's okay." And
so is this like a Destiny?
No, it's much
style?
closer
No.
to a Call of Duty multiplayer map. And they've got good
Okay.
maps, good solid details to the maps where it's like, well,
I'm
it's
looking
almost
at
like
it right now. Yeah, the city looks good.
yeah, and it's almost like, how when you look at gray boxing, if anybody who doesn't know what that means, but when a developer puts a level together, they'll gray box it, meaning they won't put anything else other than literally gray boxes. And those are for people to understand the design layout and identify, hey, does this feel good when we're running around? Then you start to build on that. It feels like this game was gray boxed and then they applied graphics. And I'm not dissing on it because it actually works, but there's a lot of sharp edges. There's a lot of very rectangular bits to it. There's a lot of like this almost mechanical workmanship that's going on where the flair is not there. There isn't any flair. It's not the
Like
flair.
the-
You know how
the
Battlefield is like,
polish.
yeah, Battlefield is like, we're going to empty the level. We're going to tip over a tower. Xdefiant is like, no, you're just playing in a level shooting people. It's very basic. It's the logger of video games. It's just going out there to do its job and then go home after a hard day's work. And it's pretty
Yeah.
cool, man. And it's free, right? Free to play, pays off. Nixie says, I love the division maps in Xdefiant. Bro, what are you talking about? I didn't know they were in there. There's division. Oh, I did see. God damn, Johnny. They have a Splinter Cell map in there. You go into one of the Splinter Cell. What's the main place called in Splinter Cell? The main division. You go into their area and you have a fight in the Splinter Cell. I saw Frankie Donuts playing it. So I was not aware that there was division maps yet. The only thing I saw was the Splinter Cell and then some generic ones. So that's cool, man. That's cool. Third echelon. Yes, you rock. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That's cool, man. Yeah, and now everybody's going, they've got division maps? Ooh, so it's like, there you go, right? Also,
Yeah.
Turum in our chat, who's always like really knowledgeable in game, because he's been a professional gamer. He did professional shooting for a long time in a lot of the first-person games. He was describing, that Ubisoft has always wanted that overlap game. So the idea that they've got their own thing plus division maps plus third echelon, they want that. They've always wanted that. It's almost like Call of Duty having Nicki Minaj skins, but Ubisoft wants their own stuff, and so that works. That's damn. I didn't know that.
It's like dog food their own stuff into new games. Like,
yep. Watch Dogs is in it too. Damn. Seriously? Yeah. Like the right now, if you guys get a chance, everybody pause for a second. Like the stream, leave a comment on the actual video if you can, versus just in here. It helps the channel hugely, and we need it right now because of all the weirdness going on. So I think that a mediocre game like that just delivers its gameplay right now as a free-to-play is perfect, because it is free-to-play. Get in, do your stuff, get out if you want, buy some customizations if you want, and just move on. And to me that's a perfect thing. Did you?
Do you think it has that like unique factor that the finals, like you said, had the destruction stuff?
No. Do you know what I think the unique factor is, Johnny? What we just saw in chat. Division maps, third echelon maps,
the
Watchdog maps.
Yeah, the crossover stuff.
That is it. Is juice. And the reason why I say that is I'm reading our chat and people are like, "Wait, what?" It's got to. Like the excitement just rose 10
getting some
times.
excitement.
And that's the proper usage of an old IP. That's in this kind of situation, that's a proper usage. I think that works really well. Yeah. Let's talk about something else I'm excited for. So we got Warhammer 2's multiplayer trailer. And I did a video, if you guys haven't seen it, where I broke down that. They've clarified a few things, because there was a few things even I had questions on what they said, but basically you got a season pass at the end, which is your cosmetics. Everything else is all unlockable in the game, including missions, strikes. They're called operations, but they're very close to strikes. 3 people going on operations, taking out some enemies. Fully customizable Space Marines. 6+ weapons, 6 classes, each class has 25 plus skills that are separate from every other class, completely different skills. And it looks like Space Marine times 10. Like, the graphics have taken a huge step up from when I played it in the preview. That game looks
customizable
amazing.
Suits too.
Yep.
Like changing color and everything.
Yeah, changing color, different weapons. They had different levels of the
Yeah.
weapons. So like your relic, your normal, your sort of middle ground, and each one has its own design, and then they all have skins. That Warhammer 2 trailer really leveled up, I think, people's excitement for jumping into this, because single player is one thing, but if you have something multiplayer like that, where you have 6v6 they added as well, you have a 6v6 Space Marine versus Space Marine, that shit's going to be epic, man. Like that, it looks so good, dude. It looks amazing.
Good. Some of the moves, by the way, like some dudes were kicking and like jumping into like gap closing with a kick. Hell yeah, man. Because I don't really expect that mobility from a super marine. I kind of view them as slow moving.
Oh yeah, dude, you hit it nail on the head. You mean like because they look slow and big?
They're bulky, but I don't know if it was one of the classes, but in the video they had like a gap closing kick or something that was nuts, man. Like some mobility skills that looked great.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They definitely had that. Also, bolt guns getting DLC. Yep, saw that as well. I think with Warhammer 2, what Johnny just said probably nails it, that they look like tanks, but they control like a mech. They're a little bit more agile than a tank, obviously, but they're less agile than a normal person. Even though technically in the fiction they're pretty mobile because of their strength and stuff. But dude, it looks good, man. The Tyranids look good. All of the Space Marines, all their collision protection was on point. It just really huge step up from when I previewed it. Because when I previewed it, it looked good, but its performance was low even in the trailers. And so they've improved that. What's up, Lucitan? How you doing? So I don't know, man. Will there be Space Marine have offline mode with bots? You know, let's see. So 6v6 and 3-player. No, there's no random multiplayer in that. It's all based on playing with people. And then you have your narrative story. So you've got your story that you play alone. That'll probably be offline, I'm assuming, because there was nothing indicating it would not be. So, yeah. Dude, Space Marine, I forgot. You know, that's one to be excited about. I don't know. Are you going to get that day one, or are you going to at least watch?
I think so. Yeah, it looks amazing. So. I just don't know if there will be like a group to play with, because it also depends on people's time and everything. You know, I'd love to play it with some of you guys if we can make it work, but dude, it just always depends.
I bet you I can get code for, I mean, they almost all, I do know some, that's one of the few companies where I have like big long-term fans, so I usually get any game from them I need. I'll ask them. Because I would want to do it anyway. That would be amazing,
yeah. I would like stop everything to play that for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. I hadn't even thought about that. I'll definitely do it. Peaky says, "Oh, it's co-op." Yeah, it's up to 3-player co-op in the narrative campaign. So.
Oh yeah, what do you think of the 3-player format? Because you kind of got the 2-player cozy. I think Gears used to be like that, right? The early ones. Yeah. And then you got the 4-player, which Left 4 Dead and all these games have done. And then suddenly you have a lot of 3-player.
So I know why they do it. And they do it because basically what you have is a triangle. And that allows you to not take a northeast-southwest positional approach to combat.
Oh.
So there's always an offset person.
So
there's
you can't cover every, like, the formation.
Yeah. So I like that idea, but I think that I would still rather see 4. I do like, there's something about 4 that I really enjoy, and I always have one friend who wants to play and we can't. You know what I mean? There's always somebody that wants to play and can't play.
It's anecdotal, but I've seen that multiple times.
Yeah, how many times have we been playing a game and it's like, oh, how many, and I'm trying to bounce, who can play at any one time. And I think there's something about 4 that really rocks too when, like, let's say you decide you want to be one class. This has 6 classes. So even with 6 players, each person would be different. So the idea of only having 3 doesn't really resonate as much with me as a reasoning. because they're hugely different style of classes. So yeah, there's some stuff there I would like to see. But I don't know about you. What's the most enjoyment you've had in a co-op story shooter, like Remnant?
Remnant was up there. Yeah, story shooter. I think I liked Gears 4. I played that with Reg. That was a lot of fun too.
2-player?
We did 2-player.
What about Destiny? Did you ever jump into strikes on Destiny or no? Okay.
No.
What about
the Division? Yeah, the Division was super fun. I played that with multiple people. Even in our Discord, we had a clan and everything.
Yep.
That was probably one of the best shooter multiplayers.
Shout out to Disaster Tourist. He said I had fun in Far Cry 5 with a buddy. Yeah, Far Cry 5 with a friend is hilarious, man. It's very close to Just Cause because of how much damage you can do, and it is a good damn time.
I remember playing with Reg, and we would sneak in, right? Mm-hmm. We're like, okay, we're doing full stealth. Maybe 20 seconds in, Reg already broke stealth, lost interest, and is shooting at people directly.
I don't know if he played before you co-op or after you, but he played co-op with me, and we were driving the 4-wheeler together, just ignoring stealth.
Yeah.
Like we would take one of the ATVs and jump it into the base, and I'd be like, "Oh, go right, you go left," and we just leap off. It's so dumb and so much loose fun. It's not balanced. It's not a balanced. It's fun. And
it's just fun.
I think you can outbalance something. You can outbalance fun. You can remove a little bit of fun. That game
actually,
great.
We did a New Dawn, which was after that.
Oh, the
after you guys
expansion
played
one.
That.
Yeah. R2 is 4-player. R2. You might be talking about Remnant 2, maybe. I don't remember. I thought Remnant 3, or at least I only had 3 friends at that time, but I can't remember. Three friends who wanted to jump in. Division was great when we had the clan. We had so many people playing that you could always find somebody to jump into in Division. It was always enjoyable jumping into Division and sort of diving into that with pals. Jay Reaper says, just from the little experience of Sniper Elite, it's hilarious in co-op. Yeah, Sniper Elite has some of the best 2-player co-op I've ever played. Have you done Sniper Elite 5, Johnny?
Yeah, I played it a bit, but not with a friend. I think that would be much better.
It is. It is enjoyable. I think you would dig it, man. With a friend, it's fun because one person can watch and verify you're not getting, somebody's not, sneaking up on you where you're taking the long shot.
Watching.
Yeah. Scoping. Glassing.
Got
a glass.
Yeah.
Got a glass. I miss couch co-op, old boy says. GPG Grunge Bob Gaming says, or GP Grunge Bob Gaming says, I think it's a car thing for in-person friends going and doing things is the same group online to play. It's a car thing? You mean because it reminds you of being a kid in a car driving with your friends? Is that what you mean? ST says, with 4, the one bad player doesn't factor in. Okay, that might be fair. Lucitan says, Outriders was fun in co-op. Boy. Okay.
It was
funner.
Yeah. What is the saying? We always say better with friends.
Better with friends. Yeah. It was tolerable pals.
Palatable. It
wasn't even
with
better
friends.
with friends. It was palatable with pals. Yeah. That's what we'll call it. Yeah, that'll be the new thing we say on a game that isn't great. That game was rough in so many ways, and it was shortchanged in so many ways. I would have liked to have seen them really be able to nail that too. Because
remember
I did
that tiny fade to black cinematics when you're jumping a bridge?
Yes, it was like the worst YouTube edit I've ever done, where they put in a fade and you get an alert in Premiere. Some frames will be copied between these because you don't have enough samples, and that's exactly how Outriders felt. Yeah,
you get 3 frames of jumping a bridge, and that's it.
Jor says, any Black Ops 6 news? I don't have any other than I'm excited to check it out. Here's the thing, guys. I'll be excited for every Call of Duty because I love the in Black Ops, I love the over-the-top campaigns. I think, the last one was way too short to be even close to enjoyable. But I want to jump into it. I think it's Black Ops. They have a higher hit rate for me than Call of Duty mains do. Do you do Call of Duties, Johnny? Do you do the single-player campaigns at all?
Sometimes.
sometime?
Yeah, I did Infinite, and some of the older ones, but none of the recent ones.
None of the recent. Yeah. I think campaigns, I think there's a split. I don't know about you, Johnny, but I feel like there's a split, pretty wide split between the single player and the multiplayer fans, too. I feel like they're either or. There's rarely, or much more rarely that fan that says, I love both. A lot of times people are like, I get it for the campaign, and I'll replay the campaign once or twice, or somebody says, I get it for the multiplayer and never turn the campaign on, at all.
Yeah, very true, actually. Yeah. That's good, too, because now it's on Game Pass. So people that are only interested in one, like, it's a lot easier for you to justify getting the game, right? That was, I think, the main issue why I haven't played many of them recently, is because the price point was always very high. So the buy-in is very high. And for me to only be interested in the single player, for example,
Yep.
It's a short campaign, right? Like, it doesn't really make sense.
Oh, and zombies, of course. Thank you for reminding me. There's zombies players. And I think that is maybe the middle ground. I've known a lot of people who like campaign and zombies or multiplayer and zombies.
But that's yet another separation, by the way.
Exactly. It's your
Some people only play zombies. Yeah.
Yep. Dude, I'm telling you right now, like, that's the thing, is there's a lot of ways to get fun right now in games, which is exciting. But, man, it can get lost quick. Like... If something doesn't hit, for, like you said, the cost of, let's say, the campaign is pretty high. And people have asked them multiple times, should you just do a campaign, charge 30, and then charge, or let multiplayer reign as a free. But I think we've seen some free-to-play, Call of Duty style stuff from them that hasn't, we had a couple of the open world one, I think is one of those was like Ops or something. I can't remember. But they don't seem to have the same grab, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's just... in my little group of people I talk to. I want to do zombies, though. Zombies would be fun with a group of... Zombies would be... I think zombies might be more fun than co-op in the campaign, because they have a good upgrade system in zombies.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it feels good. Did you like the World War II one from the Sniper Elite devs? It was sort of a B-level game. It came and went pretty quick, but it was like based in... I believe it was based in like... It was sort of like an Indiana Jones style. You were fighting like mummies and all that. It was about 5 years ago, maybe. Somebody in chat will know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't think I played that one.
It was sort of a middle ground game. Damn it, I can't remember. Strange Brigade. Thank you, Jay. Did you ever do that?
I didn't play it. Yeah, I did. No, I saw it, but I didn't play it.
Okay, good. Some people are saying Zombie Army 4 is awesome. Very much so. Those are great games, man. Those are like they're awesome to leap into and just fun. I think we forget fun when we're all watching YouTubes. It's like, what's the next outrage? Like, sometimes maybe you should just turn off YouTube, including me, and just play your fun game. Come back to me in a couple days. Watch a podcast, but, come down. It feels like we get lost in the argument over some weird thing. High Point Reviews says, have any of you played Balatro? Yes, Johnny has.
Dude, it's funny you mention it in chat, because I was just... telling you earlier, I've been playing a lot of it. I actually said it on the podcast. I thought it was before we started. But yeah, that game is super fun. I love poker. I don't know about you. I don't play it a ton, but the times that I did play, I really enjoyed. I love the card combos, basically.
Absolutely.
The games, the hands, right? Like, and having a game that's based off on that with a lot of cool little rogue mechanics. Like, for example, because the cool thing with rogues is that every run has like an archetype. So you start with a blank slate, right? You don't know what you're going for in the run. But let's say you get an upgrade for pairs. Now you're playing a lot of pair hands.
Right.
Even though they may give less than a full or a straight, because you're buffing that, the pair is actually more powerful than one of those bigger hands.
Sure.
And then maybe you can play lots of hands, because every hand you have a pair. For example, that's one strategy. Or you could go the other way and say, no, I'm gonna optimize for straights, and everything will be around that. I'm gonna get cards for that. Anyway, I digress, but it's very cool how seamlessly the two kind of combine, you know, all the roguelite mechanics that we see typically like that with the poker hands.
So as somebody who does board games, I have to tell you right now, you need to go buy this board game. It's called Dice Throne, and it is exactly what you're talking about. But it's D&D characters or Marvel, like Thor. But you also have like fire mages, and it plays with dice. But the dice are cards based, somewhat like straights, 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
4.
yeah.
And some skills, when you upgrade them, they change from needing 3 of a kind to 2 pair, and you upgrade the skills. And this is what blows me away. When you look at Marvel Snap, you look at these games that are based on pure collection and all this stuff, they'd never have enough real strategy for me to care too much other than the card collecting attribute part. I'm telling you right now, Dice Throne as a digital game would sell blockbuster numbers because it has both those. And it is one of the best board games I've ever played, and it fits exactly what you're talking about. But it's a mix of dice and poker, and then well-known characters like Marvel characters, D&D characters, that kind of stuff. And it's one of the few games where you have Doctor Strange fighting a magic user, fighting a treant, fighting like a ice mage or whatever, and it actually works and everything is themed. So you can throw the hammer and drop it on somebody and they can't move. You can do, like for Thor, where they can't pick up the hammer. You can do all this shit that is so themed, and it blows my mind. We have not seen that game become digital. Because I personally think that game wouldn't be super hard to code, and you could have a title that would speak to the people who like... I think Balatro looks fun, but doesn't look good graphically. And I think that does hurt it a little bit. It still does look a little indie. And I think that I would love to see Dice Throne because it does have its own setup that looks good graphically, and I would love to see that.
Looks awesome, man.
It is one of the best.
I'm definitely gonna get this.
Dude, your family, IRL. I think, would love it because my wife, who isn't a big role player, but all my friends are, we got together, and she was into it. She was like playing Loki, and Loki has completely different sets of stuff to do, but it's not where you have to feel like I need to learn Loki. They're right there in front of you. And you can look and go, I know exactly what I need to do as Loki, which is different than the samurai. So like a samurai, if they beat you, they'll create shame on you, which then does you'll do less damage on your next hit. But
That's
then
amazing.
Loki can take his icon and give it to you, and when you roll a dice, you're rolling his dice, which does nothing for you, but can actually cause his shit to happen on your roll, which is crazy. I mean, it's so simple. It's so simple. And it's the one game where we pick random heroes. Everybody's like, let's just do randoms because everybody is a blast to play. It is a phenomenal board game. It needs to be a fucking digital game. Like, millions would sell. It would, dude, I'm telling you, I look at all these other card-based games and I'm like, why is somebody not doing Dice Throne? Because it's a mix. It's got strategy.
It's tactile.
It's tactile. It's friggin' amazing. So
Marvel
anyway,
Dice Throne for
Marvel
Hero
Dice
Box.
Throne. And it doesn't have to be heroes. It doesn't even have to be Marvel. If you don't like Marvel, there's more than enough. Samurai, ninja, magic users. Yeah. Disaster Tourist, $10 super chat. Playing Ghost of Tsushima for the first time on PC and loving it. Looking forward to the Legends co-op. Did you guys ever get a chance to play it? Yes, I played a bunch of Legends co-op. I played it with Johnny, I believe, and Reg.
Yep.
And we had a blast. It is very, very good. I think it is a very good version of multiplayer for Ghost because Ghost has a distinct feel to it, and they did a good job on that multiplayer. Yeah. Did you play any more of it after we played? Did you dive in? Or
yeah, a little bit. I did return later. Yeah, it's easy to jump into. It simplifies a lot of the stances and all that stuff. You can pretty much play with whatever you like.
Yeah. Without that worry of being rock, paper, scissors that we saw, at least originally.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So, hey, Carrick, I've been thinking about joining the Patreon for Discord. I'm wondering if it's a one-time fee for the Discord, or do I have to keep paying? Yeah, you would have to keep paying. It's definitely access that's tied to, what do you call it? Otherwise, we'd have a bunch of trolls paying once and just being shitheads. Yeah. So, yeah, you definitely, it is definitely a buy. But we make it worth it. There's streams. There's, it is a Discord that's cultivated due to payment, which is a little bit safer, but also, I would say that they have a little bit less of a patience for jackassery. I've definitely noticed that where people will be like, dude, what do you there's some jackassery that occasionally happens, and people try to fix it really quick. It's a great Discord, but it is a Discord that is, we've got gamers in there who love games. So if you're just in there to piss about games, I think after a while people get a little tired of that. But we've got our separate chat channels for those kind of things. We've got a cooking channel that is hugely popular because everybody's posting cooking, and we just added a chat channel for well, we didn't just add it, but it's exploded recently, which is called Show Your Life. So people show their deck, they show pictures they've taken, they show their dogs, they show their all, blah blah blah. It is just really awesome to see everybody sort of come in there and post and sort of free from the internet bullshit. Because if you post a picture of your dog and you say my dog passed away on Twitter, I guarantee you within the first 3 posts, somebody's going to be like, haha, I hope I hope your other dogs die. And you're just like, dude, what?
Holy moly.
Yeah. It's so weird. I really need to get on that Discord. You should, man. It's fun. It's a good place to be. And, you just got to, it is still a place where civility is desired. But we have a good time. And once you understand, what it's sort of based around, it's not a place to go in there, start talking about war and shit. We have a channel for that, but it's sort of separate. You sometimes get that where you'll get people who like take their Twitter personas into a Discord. I've done it myself with other Discords that aren't paid, and you can sort of tell that's not the place to do it. It's like, this is a gaming Discord. Yeah. We don't need to talk about these kind of things, or at least in the main general. But yeah, we also have some super long. I mean, most of the people are still there. I think I was looking. I think we've only had like a turnover rate of like 7% in 6 years. So can you believe it's been going that long, dude?
Yeah, it's huge, man.
It's nuts. It's nuts. It's been going on for that long. Speaking of Discord, let's answer a couple Discord questions. Is Viper said, what's one of your favorite movies that has a terrible Rotten Tomatoes score? Mine is Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. I don't know.
I didn't like that one specifically. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I don't know what the scores would be, if that makes sense, on mine, because I don't look at Rotten Tomatoes. But what's a movie that I like? Okay, I can tell you for sure. I don't like Total Recall's new one as a Total Recall remake, because Arnold is Total Recall. Case closed.
But as its own thing.
As its own cyberpunk world, and seeing the ideas they had and watching some behind the scenes, I like it for a display of a unique cyberpunk world that's slightly different and got its own things going on.
Cool city, Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, dude.
Can't go wrong with...
Can't go wrong. And she's talking to Colin Farrell in bed, and she says, he's having these nightmares about, like, about these weird things going on. And she's like, is it me? Do you feel trapped? And I'm like, okay, full stop. Full stop. Full stop. That's not realistic.
Not believable.
Yeah. That was like, come on, Colin Farrell, who most people probably find really handsome, and she's really beautiful, and they're both like, I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know if I buy that, but yeah, I would say Total Recall's one for me. What about you? Is there any?
I have some that I think people would call stinkers, but I enjoy like some Fast and Furious movies, especially 1 and 2. I really liked, and a couple other sequels. Like the one with The Rock, where they're in Brazil and he's always sweating. He's just sweating the entire
it's amazing.
movie.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That one is probably one of your highest.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people rate them pretty low.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about the Discord because a lot of times in the Discord we end up degenerating to movie talks a lot of times, and we've done a lot of watches together where like 3 of us will be watching the same show, and I can tell you there's shows I definitely like that are not liked, but less so than movies. I think there's a lot of shows where I'll watch them and I'll say it and people will be like, well, Carrick likes that, and I'll be like, I don't know if you understand, sometimes that just level C TV show on the background is more than enough. It like fills in a gap of hearing people talk while you're working solitary on something. It's always nice. But yeah, we did a group watch about 2 months ago. We did a group watch of Predator 2 with Danny Glover, which is phenomenal. Not as good as the original, but its own thing completely. And we just for the next 5 weeks in chat, There's just these one-liners from the movie that are like, you know, everybody knows the joke where they're like, oh, I know where this is coming from. Those are great. Let's see, what else do we got? Commando. Yeah, I don't know if Commando is considered bad. I think when it comes down to it, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't matter.
Speaking of Kate Beckinsale,
yeah,
you know, I like that one. I think it's considered like pretty B movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Or low.
Yeah, I mean, beauty matters sometimes, and it can pull it in. But I think that
sometimes just the aesthetic and the vibe, you know.
And I meant her. But what I was saying was also with her is that's actually got very good mythology to it. The Underworld movies have continued to build the mythology, and it goes a little weird here and there. But I actually think the mythology is enough to keep me, you know, consistently going back and sort of tracking that.
Absolutely.
That good question, Fizz. Thank you very much. Sorry we didn't have exact Rotten score, but we don't look at that. He also says, thanks for all you do. Have a good Memorial Weekend. Oh, yeah, it's Memorial Weekend. Memorial Weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I also have a holiday on Monday, even though we don't do Memorial, but still.
You celebrate it with us. You're co-celebrators.
It's funny because here the holidays don't have names. So it will be called like early spring holiday or early May holiday, you know, or bank holiday as we call it here in the UK. And I know that pretty much everywhere else they're named.
They're named,
right?
Yeah,
like,
we always have to add some specialness to ours.
Oh yeah, like in Spain where I came from, a lot of them were religious, like Catholic based.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the US it's a bit less on the religious side. But
yeah,
still.
we only have Easter and Christmas, of course, which you could say is technically that. Mortal Kombat Annihilation, good one, very good. Yeah. High Point says, I just got a 3-burner gas grill from Lowe's for $99. See, that would be a share your life channel post, because somebody would be posting some pictures of them cooking up some wieners. Red Planet with Val Kilmer. That was really B, man. I don't know. That was tough to watch, but I get why. You're not the only one, because I've definitely heard that.
I don't know. I'm a big Val Kilmer fan.
So am I. I'm a stan.
I enjoyed
for Kilmer.
A lot of most of the stuff.
Kiss Bang Bang. One of the best movies, a phenomenal, unbelievably good comedy. Jack says, how could you forget Memorial Weekend? That's the one you're supposed to remember. I do not remember any holidays.
Memorial, that's fair.
It's just, we don't have holidays on YouTube at all. So
true.
They're all a live day. Let's see. Next up is A1 Nangle. I was just playing Europa Universalis, and it crashed after 4 hours. I guess I should quick save more frequently, but do you remember your most frustrating game crash this year? This year. Yeah, this year.
Oh, Helldivers, easily.
I think it was this year. I could be wrong. Instantly aggressive, and I'm stuck there, and that sucked balls.
God,
that sucked balls. Did you have any big crashes this year? I don't remember.
Helldivers, a lot.
Oh,
man.
Dude, Helldivers, man. I think,
those are annoying as hell too, because you might lose like a 50-minute mission, but you crash out, and maybe you're unable to join, and you lost that time. Like, you legit don't get anything from it. Yeah, salutes. Someone is saluting me in chat. I think they also had Helldivers crashes.
Yeah, I definitely had a bunch. Sucked balls. So I'm asking people what their worst crash was this year. I want to see what they say there, and I'll come back to it. Next up, let's go with some Discord stuff, and then we'll jump to the next topic. And these are people who have been in Discord for a while, so thank you very much. MK Bandit says, if you could make a Kingdom Hearts type game, what universes would you combine with Final Fantasy style? So you know what he means by that, right? Kingdom Hearts being Disney.
Yeah, because they do crossovers with Disney and Final Fantasy, I want to say. I'm trying to think of if there are any others. I think those are the main characters.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that was really... I'm going to end that. I forgot that
maybe
goes to
Persona.
Chat.
What if you had like some type of Persona crossover where you had protagonists of different Persona games interacting? That could be fun.
I'm asking a question if people keep playing a game after they have a major crash, because I've found that kills my fun. I would say for Final Fantasy, Star Wars, Paul, as Simon just said, I would actually agree with that. I think Final Fantasy and Star Wars would be a tremendous overlap. That would be fun to see. But I don't like overlapping a lot of stuff. I like being surprised. Raving Rabbids, the Rabbids versus Mario game, that was a huge surprise I never expected. Yeah. It's hard to know what works, right? Because I would never have thought they worked, and they worked great.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, true.
You wouldn't, yeah. Gaming Alejandro says, what do you feel are some of the biggest weaknesses? Oh, this is him asking me. Okay, what do you feel are... No, not me. Johnny also reviews. Check out his channel, Johnny Plays Live. He's been doing
thanks, man.
Some reviews. What do you guys feel are the biggest weaknesses, your own biggest weakness as a reviewer content creator? Do you actively work on them? Is there something in particular that leaves you thinking, that reviewer content creator is much better than me? So what reviews, what we... I mean, there's a ton. I would say my editing, it takes me longer than a lot of other people to edit. Definitely. I would say, I'm going to explain it this way. I don't know if it's a negative, but it gets brought up a lot. I don't get emotional. And I know that that bothers some. So a game, for example, Hellblade 2 had some jump scare moments that I was not expecting. And they quite literally caught me by surprise to where I went, oh my God, which normally in games that never happens. But in that game, there were 3 or 4 of them that were quite surprising. I don't get emotionally scared very often, and many times it's not in a horror game. It's in a game where it's not supposed to be scary. And something creepy will come up where I'll be like, whoa, that's so off kilter. Prey had some points where it wasn't really supposed to be scary as much as creepy, where I was like, ooh, this is, But I would say emotion, probably to speak to a wider audience, if I was to do the surprised face, as we joke about, though, if I was to do more clickbait, the honest truth is this is not a virtue signal. I honestly do think if I did that more, it would do better. And that's maybe not a weakness, but it's definitely a weakness on my side. What about you, Johnny? You got any?
Yeah, I think the editing is rough, especially showing something on screen at all times that matches what you're describing. People don't understand how time consuming that can be or how difficult that is.
Yeah.
And much respect to you and other people who sort of carefully do that, because I notice it that, you have video that's showing an example of what you're saying. I will say I kind of compromise there. I usually have some general, game. If I'm talking about gameplay, I will have, some gameplay, but I simply don't have or want to invest the time into, doing that level. So I would say that's a next level where I'm simply not able to compete there.
Yeah.
I would say also when it comes to talking, like I was saying, I have a naturally slow way of talking. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I wish I had a faster pace of delivery. I know a lot of people don't have the patience to listen to me because I do talk a bit slow. And that's not something you can necessarily change. It's kind of your natural cadence. So I can't change that too much. One thing I have been aware of, and I'm trying to work on pretty aggressively, is reducing and different types of pauses where filler, where you're just buying time for the next thought to appear, and try to have it be very flow, because I also don't script, but I will have bullet points.
Yep.
So I am trying to chain bullet points in a way that, I can do where it makes sense to me. So I do it. I flow. I noticed this is something you do pretty well, where like there is some type of sense making in your brain between one point A and point B,
another. Yeah.
Where you're able to say, and speaking of blah,
right.
Yeah,
I would say that one advice I could give you on that is because I definitely get in trouble for talking too fast, and I slow down for the reviews, because if I was talking my normal speed, it would probably be like this, and I would explain everything like it, because that is how I talk in real life. I will say this, Johnny, if you go look in your just train yourself to say, in addition, speaking of, and you can usually smooth out, especially if you're talking about one. So let's say you want to talk about graphics for a while. If you realize that you're not changing viewpoints to music, but you're still within graphics, you can say, in addition to matter of fact, point of, and then over time you'll get enough that that's in your vocabulary that you can add more to it, and then pretty soon it's pretty easy to bounce. It's not super easy for anyone. That's why speech, people give speeches, they study them and usually script them. But I would say for us, the way we do it, you can remove, because I just said you can remove those ums by cutting them, but a lot of times people
replacing
can pick up
them.
You can, but yeah, if you replace them with something that's like in addition to matter of fact, that kind of stuff. I definitely find myself reusing something, and I'll be all. See, that's the thing. Scripting lets you be more eloquent and lets you use different words. That it's almost like you have this hypothesis where you want to go. And then as you're talking, you're changing and interchanging words. And when you write it, you can do even more. You can look up on a thesaurus. But I find that those sound more... They sound more like the status quo kind of review that I don't listen to, because I do find them a little bit more like an informer video. But there's a lot of people who love those. So it's not...
They do. And dude, there's something about when you're doing it, maybe without a script, just bullet points or something, where you actually don't know the next thing you're about to say to some level. I mean, the general point you're trying to make, but there are times where I'm surprised about how I phrased something and it was actually cool. It was unique. I wouldn't, if I was writing that, I would never have, it would not work. But in, conversational, it kind of comes. It's almost like improvisation in instruments. Mm-hmm. There's some stuff that you just can't replicate when you're doing.
Wouldn't you agree?
Recording.
It's like arpeggio, but in word form. It's like what exactly sort of you want to say, and then as you're going, you just sort of adjust those things.
Yeah, and sometimes you hit a note that
like
you don't understand why it works necessarily, but it's like, whoa, that was cool.
Yeah. I will say one negative that I do is I definitely have a situation where I will tell jokes, or they'll be my own jokes, right? There'll be thought processes I have that a lot of people won't know, only some people will know, and I'll just leave them in. And I know technically that's a no-go. You're supposed to be very current. You're supposed to be you're not really supposed to say anything a gamer wouldn't know by listening. To me, that's exactly the opposite of why I want to do them, because I do want to make those. Next up, we have Oregon Fresh says, what's your favorite theme music to a TV show? Something about the saxophone at the beginning of Roseanne always pulled me in. I can tell you right now, I think the starting to, probably one of my favorite is the starting of Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, yeah.
In Justified.
Damn.
Justified is probably one of the best startings.
I would listen to every intro in Sons of Anarchy.
Absolutely.
I watched the whole show. I listened to every intro.
And when it tries to auto-skip, I will be like, no, mother. What are you doing? I do not want to auto-skip the intro.
The intro gets played.
The intro gets played every time. Every time. That is so funny, dude. Every time for Sons. And Justified's the same way. When that thing's banging out, I'm like, Airwolf.
That's good. Someone said Game of Thrones. I can't believe I know the
exact tune for that. What? Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones was good too. Because I had the excitement of because I read the books. I was very excited for every episode. So every week it was like a momentous occasion when you hear the fucking Game of Thrones.
Exactly. Oh, and I find myself doing just that, where I'll fill in words to the tunes, almost like you'll hear like Timbaland when he does producing. He'll be like, he'll just make instrument sounds.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I do in Game of Thrones. Yeah. It's like Game of Thrones, even though that's not the words. And you see the Monopoly board, like overarching graphic of the castles going up. Dude, that shit's... That's why I love it. Like Hellblade 2 had a great intro in this game where you're climbing up Snot Mountain at the starting, and you've got these golems, fucking furies in your head going, you suck, you can't do this. And then they have she rolls to the side and the credits fill in where the gap of her body is. And I'm like, you guys get it. That's exactly what I needed from the starting of that game. So you don't have just credit. You have like her moving credit, her climbing credit below her. It was such a great job. Let's see. Some of the people in here. Sons of Anarchy had some absolutely banging music overall. Friends intro song. Oh, dude, I listened to every Friends intro. Somebody offered to cut and upscale them for me. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I own them. And I was like, oh, yeah, could you do that? And they were all, yeah, and I'll cut out the intros. And I was like, whoa.
Whoa.
What kind of anarchist are you? No, leave it in there.
Yeah.
Quantum
Absolutely.
Leap, BoJack Horseman, MASH. Oh, MASH is awesome.
Yeah,
those are all great. Monk is great.
Yeah, Light to
Cheers.
Me has a good one.
Light to Me
I listened to that
is primo. It's probably in the top 3. It's probably Justified Sons and Lie to Me. Lie to Me is underrated as a show, but that opening music gets me every single time. And it's got that weird, it's sort of loud. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's like, it gets actually, because when it's like da da da, and it ends on like a crash where it's like da da da, and it shows the white screens. It's a very brash for Lie to Me. A lot of whites where it shows them.
I have to say, so I know you won't know this because it's an anime, but Yu Yu Hakusho, someone said in chat.
Yo-Yo Hakusho?
Yu Yu Hakusho. Dude, the theme to that anime is the greatest shit ever for me. It's like funky. It's great. Love it. I love that someone said that. Cheers.
Everybody in chat, what's your favorite game starting or theme music for games? Mine is absolutely Baldur's Gate, the first Skyrim, and Mass Effect.
Menu or
the main
like
menu
starting?
music, or even the starting music if they have it. But those are the 3 that. Oh, Halo, of course. Yeah, I feel like non-gamer by not mentioning Halo. Is there anything that you remember just sitting and listening to?
Oh yeah. I mean, Fallout 4 was pretty iconic.
Fallout 4, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love Far Cry 5.
Oh, dude, the Justified music in Far Cry 5 and that theme is so good.
Great.
So good. People are saying Gears of War, Wolf Among Us. I got to mention another title that is rarely mentioned. Advent Rising has one of the best opening. Tommy Talerco did the music for that. So good. Dragon Age Inquisition. You know, I liked the music in that game more than I liked the game. So I would agree. I think Dragon Age Inquisition starting music, when you see I don't know if you remember that game, Johnny, but in Inquisition, you have these armies marching towards and through the main menu. And you're sort of like sitting there, and all these armies are marching. It's got this music that just sort of resonates with the marching really well. Bloodborne, Liza P. Battletoads, Mass Effect, Skyrim, Elden Ring. Elden Ring's good too. Yeah. Deus Ex, yes, Deus Ex, man. The original Deus Ex as well. And then Unreal, the original Unreal. And it just goes through. That's too old. I realize.
I did Human Revolution. That was good.
Sorry, I meant Unreal 1999 is way too early.
Oh,
That's the turn. Yeah. Dude, that's got some of the most iconic, and you're doing a fly through. They basically took levels and they flew the camera through it, and so the music, and it's just, and then the original Deus Ex is like da 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 da. It's really patriotic. Both of those were. Wow. Yeah, now I'm getting into music because you can tell I'm getting all excited. Well, but yeah, dude, there's so many. Doom's theme. Doom is awesome. Civilizations. Divine Divinity has amazing intros. There's so many good music for. I'm so glad people know what we're talking about when we talk about music for stuff. Next up, Oregon Fresh. Go for it.
What's the one we always say? But Outer Worlds has a great one.
I feel bad for not mentioning it. Outer Worlds.
Yeah,
has one of the best menus. See, that's the thing, is there's fantastic. Too many that has the best. It sounds like I'm just going to mention 20 games. Outer Worlds has a phenomenal main menu.
Right, again, we could keep going.
Death's Door, Soul Reaver, Metal Gear Solid 2, Tales of Berseria, Last of Us, Dragon's Dogma, Vanilla. The wind is pushing. That is such a iconic starting. Metal Gear Solid. We're going to go Sonic or Mario. Probably has some of the most well-known. Those are well-known. I didn't like those old music. I liked when it said Sega, when you turned on the Sega. Outer Worlds incorporates the opening theme into the level up jingle. Yeah, they did an amazing job. Jet Grind Radio. There are some amazing answers in here. Jesus Christ, I feel like every answer is the best one. Man, Castlevania. Dude. That is absolutely insane. There's so many answers. Original Final Fantasy VII, New Vegas, Manor Lords, Max Payne did have Persona 5. Oh, Persona 5 is another one, dude. That we forgot.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Mortal Kombat. Yeah, there's a lot. Oregon Fresh says June 9th is the Xbox COD show. Chances we see Shadow Drop. I could see a drop of the older games on Game Pass that day. That'd be a good idea. Yeah. That'd be really good to do a shadow drop of those. I don't really have any guesses for what we'll see.
No.
I think shadow drop of the old ones would be good. And then Johnny wanted to talk about, or he put on here, I don't know if we've already talked about it a little bit, but Hellblade 2. Have you beat it? Or played it?
No, so I only played one session, so maybe 3 hours so far. That I had some early thoughts.
Go for it.
And it's kind of in line with what you guys were saying. I heard most of the discussion from Wednesday, but I really think that people expected them to grow in different directions. You know, when you say someone just grows sideways, you expected them to get taller, but they actually just...
You got fatter.
You got fatter. Like, I think a lot of people expected them to grow in the gameplay side. You know, really invest into getting more responsive gameplay and better movement, more combos, different things like that. You know, maybe more RPG mechanics with systems and stuff. And instead, they kind of doubled down on the immersion thing, where everything is in service of the immersion.
Yeah.
To the point where the combat that was already quite simple is now, I mean, almost down to a quick time event. Not that.
It's not that bad, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Not that bad. It's almost like, it's so cinematic that it doesn't really feel like you're playing an action game at all. Like my experience of playing it so far. And there's a lot of segments that are just, you know, press forward. Yeah. So like from the gameplay side, they kind of double down on that simplicity, which on one side is, I respect the, you know, the balls, right? To just double down on your vision and go down. And they've been able to do, because of that, they've been able to do some incredible things with just the visuals. I've never seen, you know, textures like that when I look around and stuff. It's really incredible. But yeah, some of the gameplay stuff really kind of shocked me, where there is very little of it in a way.
Yeah.
Did you expect more gameplay, or like more fleshed out, more advanced?
I did not know what to expect. I would have... So when I started playing and I realized it's more cinematic and they've gone to the one enemy and they did the really close-up camera, as somebody who likes your Life is Strange or likes your Telltale games, I can buy into that pretty quickly. I'm like, all right, this is just the way they're going to go with this game. So I would say I pretty quickly... So I don't carry too many expectations into a review, because if I do, then it's talking about what it's not and what it is. And that is, at least for me, not the way I want to review for the most part. I want it I could say, once I get to the end and fun factor, which is what I talked about in my review, which is where I was like, I like it, but if you're a person who wants to do this other stuff, this is not going to be for you. It's just not going to be for you. For me, I liked it. Did I love it? No, but I liked it. And cinematically and story and audio and music, top tier. Probably one of the best, as multiple people said, even people who don't like it said it might be one of the best looking games of all time on the consoles. It is legitimately stunning in what they've delivered. But I took it as an independent film version of a God of War, where they don't have the money or budget to do tons of enemies and in a movie, and they've gone for the more character-driven cinematic route, which I've seen enough of those movies to look at that and go, I get where they're going. And but what I would have liked, so I didn't necessarily love the combat at all. There were parts, this is what's weird. Every single move is recorded separately, meaning every audio cue for a grunt is different than the one prior. That is something that, as an audio person, I appreciate beyond all belief. I'm like, that
Yep.
is phenomenal. How many times have you played any great game, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, whatever, where every grunt is
it's the same
because
kick
it's the
sound
same.
or
It's the same one.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
recorded every move separate, so you have this cinematic piece. And it took me about 7 hours to play, and then, like I said, I did testing, so I think I had about 9 hours total Sorry, because I was doing testing as well. It's always hard to know because when you're testing, trying to run graphics, see how it runs, that can eat up your time. Plus, I spent a lot of time in photo mode, way more than I've ever spent in any game prior. And so when I went into it, my expectations were one thing, but I'm always of the assumption that because we don't have a ton of data, we don't know where those expectations will meet and how does it come together. And to me, it is its own thing, and I couldn't be happier that it's its own thing. I could be happier if it was its own thing plus better, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
And that's why I said when I reviewed it, I was like, listen, I like it, but Game Pass is a great way to experience this game. It's a great way. Because, and this is why I was stunned Steam reviews are so high. I mean, because I just thought it would get, I just assumed it would get trashed. And instead, it's not at all. It's people are like, it is its own thing. It's Ninja Theory doing their own thing. This is also where I've told you this before, and I really don't like where developers say, what should we make? And that's the age-old joke of, you see a group of people running somewhere and you try to get in front of them to lead them. And that is the major way you fail. Instead, Ninja Theory is like, we're doing our thing. We're doing our thing. And in today's day of generic titles that we consistently see everybody getting mad about, every game feels like this or feels like that. Regardless if you like it or not, it's its own fucking thing. And to me, that is awesome because there were experiences I had in that game, audio, visual, presentation, fear, paranoia, anxiety, that I do not get in most other games. And that game delivered it. And so for that is phenomenal in what it was trying to do in those elements. But I still have no issue saying I would rather have seen the combat be a little... This is the difference between John Wick 1 and 3, Johnny. John Wick 1, he's fresh. John Wick 2, 3, and 4, he's 3 days later. So he's beat up. And you see that in the combat, and he looks tired. Senua gets the shit kicked out of her, then climbs up Snot Mountain and starts the event. And she never has flicky fast anything because she's beat up. And it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell because it doesn't feel the way you would want it to feel. But I got to tell you, I'm happy it does. Because even if some people hate it, the fact that it's its own thing and just says, they didn't say fuck you, they weren't disrespectful at all. They were like, this is what you're getting. I love it. I love it. And I think that I love other games that have tried that as well. But it doesn't stop me from saying there's this or that I would like to see better. It's unfortunate that the combat isn't... See, I don't know. We've talked about this. A bug can ruin a story's pacing. Long combat can ruin a story's pacing. Dying a bunch of time can ruin a story's pacing. They went the opposite route, where the pacing mattered more to them than the other stuff. Their delivery of story beats mattered more to them than other stuff. But it is what it is. And, dude, I couldn't be happier for them because it's doing really well. I know sales on Steam we don't know of, but I mean, critically, it got rated pretty well. It's got within 1 or 2 of Hellblade 1, which I'm sure what they were hoping for. And it'll be talked about for a long time. And I think there'll be some negativity around it. But when I look at what I got out of it, I'm really proud of like a developer who looks in this world of every game has to be roguelike, every game has to be open world, every game has to be bloated. They're like, we're doing the exact opposite. And there's some negatives. There are some negatives to it. But yeah.
I think that's a good way to look at it, that not every game needs to tick all the boxes. You know, this is not the one that's gonna scratch the itch for amazing combos or something like that, but something like very slow cinematic combat, it's enjoyable if you get into that. I don't dislike it. It is just something that you kind of understand what they're doing. It's not like an adventure game with challenging combat. It's all about like having an experience in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's the sort of the... There's two sides to this, Johnny. There's the people who say they want the same but better, and there's the people who say we want different. But do you know where different lies mostly? Indie games. So when you see a game like this, you think indie game, but it's not an indie, it's a B-level title. They don't have a lot of people, they're a smaller group, but they work for Microsoft, so people assume AAA. But I can't sit here. I would be disingenuous to sit here and be like, I'm always asking for different, and then get mad at different. That's completely anything. Like, I don't care if somebody unsubscribes. I've seen people unsubscribe. They're like, oh, can't believe you like this. And I'm like, dude, I'm an independent reviewer. I'm going to like what I like. You know, if you want the zeitgeist, go somewhere else. And weirdly enough, since I didn't love it the way other people did, I'm sort of middle ground, which I guess sometimes pisses people off more. But for me, the idea of doing something their own way is exactly what I want to see. And it is not usual. And people would love to see it be more like a God of War, be more action-packed. I get that, but Senua's never been that character. Never. And so when I looked at what we were getting, I never had the expectation of riding a dragon around a level. Ever.
Yeah.
But do you know what I didn't expect? To have so many monumentally amazing moments in a game that didn't have a ton of gameplay. And that is what Hellblade 2 delivered to me. There's a part, I don't know if you've got there, where a lake drains. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you got to that point?
No.
Primo. There's the level I talked about later with fire and some stuff you have to do where the music matches with the effects on screen. There's a battle that you go into when you climb around a bandit's base, I guess, the bad guy's base, and they're breathing fire and they're doing their thing. And I was like, that is unbelievable, unbelievable presentation. So
yeah,
that... I like that for that, man. I like it for that. And I'll be damned if I'm going to lie to people just to say I hate it more or I like it more. Even though I think people would, if I liked it more, people could be like, you're paid off, but then more people would like the review. If I didn't like it more, people could say, oh, you're just brutally honest. It's like, I'm already... My baseline, the reason why you don't see me say brutally honest in a review is because brutally honest to me is like the day-to-day living. There's no reason to put it in a fucking review. It should already be honest. And my honest ideas of stuff, if they don't align with somebody, what are we looking for? And that to me is what I take from Hellblade 2, is that I expect certain people to love it, just like I love first-person shooters. I expect some people to hate it, just like I hate sports games. To me,
yeah, the idea of brutal honesty, I think, makes no sense, because what you're saying with that is that you're not only going to be honest, but actually you're going to disregard people's feelings, and you're not going to, you know, go out of your way to be nice or something.
Yeah.
But that's...
Dude, I don't have time to like wait for everybody to review, look at their reviews, and decide if I'm going to be opposite or in agreement. I'm doing the review of what I think. You're doing a review of what you think. There's nothing wrong with you disliking it, because you and I have talked about other games that are generally more disliked or liked, where we both do agree. To me, that's quite literally how humans work. And dude, I got to tell you, man, it's a banger in the what it's doing. In what it's doing. Like, in what it's doing, it's a banger. In what we want from an action game, it is not. But that doesn't mean it needs to fit in the genre, and then we can say it's not as good as a God of War or something like that. It's like, whoa, that's a different mentality.
They could have chosen to, you know, instead of spending all that time recording the different grunts and animations, they could have said, well, you know, we're going to have a few less of those, but we're going to flesh out some of the combat systems more or something. But, you know, I think it makes sense when you look at it, that it looks this good, and it's doing, you know, it's got now a full cast instead of just Senua. It makes sense, you know, where they spent the resources, and you can see it. Like,
What I
Speaks
really
for
like
itself.
too is that, and like the people who follow me, I haven't really seen any negative. I don't really go back and look at reviews of games I reviewed because I've reviewed it. I can't, if I see somebody love a game I somewhat liked, I can't change my review. Like, that would be ridiculous. It doesn't, what would I do? Delete the old review and upload a new one to agree with this person? And since this game had really good reviews and really low reviews, but has still ended up reviewing well, to me, that sort of is exactly what I'm expecting. I really have no issue with this. Like, I have no issue with people scoring it low, as long as they explain the context of maybe how it didn't fit their description of what they thought or their expectations. But I do think that we are slightly getting to a point to where a lot of stuff is, what does this not have compared to 50 other games in the genre or 50 other games that we've seen, versus what is it giving? And if that doesn't appeal to you on what it's giving, explain your context and move on. I mean,
Yeah.
I've reviewed over 1,000 games at this point. To me, this means nothing. It's not even a blip in the sand. Like, I didn't know Cowboy didn't love it. Cowboy also was very glowing on it. He was just like, as a guy who does Dark Souls, he wanted more combat.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I didn't know he didn't love it when I invited him 2-3 weeks ago, because it was prior to him and I doing the review. And I didn't know he didn't like it until I tweeted. And then somebody said, "Are you bringing Cowboy on to hear his negative take on Hellblade 2?" And I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. Like, I didn't even, because he was coming on to talk about Erd Ring, and that's what we were going to discuss. So, yeah, to me, it's much ado about nothing. And it's awesome also, again, to see them just say, this is us. And if you don't like it, we get it. I like that forcefulness. I don't want them saying, "Hey, Jeremy, what do you want us to put in your game?" I'd be like, the fuck are you calling me for? I don't make it. That'd be like an author saying, "I'm stuck on chapter 8, Jeremy." Dean Koontz called me up and being like, "Hey, man, what do you think I should do with this character?" I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have nothing to do with that. Make your thing, deliver it. If I like it, I'll tell you why I like it. If I dislike it, I'll tell you why I dislike it. And that's the way everybody should be. And I've seen great conversation in our Discord. Most people have loved it. There were one or two who didn't, and their explanation was completely valid. Like, oh, I get it. Like, to me, that makes sense. But much ado about nothing, really. Dean Koontz, hell yeah, turned off said. Yeah, Dean Koontz is awesome. Glad to see some people loving it, some people disliking it. If you guys loved it, I'd like to hear it. If you disliked it, I'd like to hear it. But yeah, completely enjoyable to see them do that. And I'm excited to see what their other game is. I said this a couple months ago. I had already heard that they were doing a game that was separate. And now there's been more people talking about it. So I don't think we'll see a Hellblade 3 prior to seeing another game from them. Sounds like there's a title coming.
Project Maya or something they were saying.
I don't know the project name. I know I was just told that there was. What is Odd Thomas going to do now? Exactly. Odd Thomas or Christopher Snow. Hey, Jeremy, man, I'm trying to write Christopher Snow's third book. Could you tell me how to do it? Moving on from there, good questions. I absolutely appreciate you guys throwing those in there. The Discord people always have really good questions. You guys nail it. And thanks to Johnny for his thoughts on Hellblade. I want to hear what you think if you beat it. Because I think in the end we'll all sort of align that graphics, sound, audio, music, presentation is amazing, and where we'll have that disagreement, or not even disagreement, but that thought process is in the middle. Twitter has asked me some questions. I asked them to give us some topics for the podcast, and here's what we got. Fumo says, what game would you recommend to FIFA addicts just to introduce them to a new genre? So let's say somebody's a FIFA addict and you want to introduce them to a different genre. It's not sports. What would be a game that you would introduce them to? Witcher 3 for RPGs. I think it's safe to say Witcher 3 would be a good example.
I think if you're a FIFA addict, we can't save everyone.
I know. We're not going to be able to save you, my friend. Pyre is technically a soccer game. Yeah, soccer and football a little bit, sort of a mix. I get that. That's a good example.
What about those those sport games that are also RPGs, or that have monsters
Dungeon
in them?
Bowl, Blood Bowl,
fun ones. Yeah.
That might. I mean, dude, such a weird question.
Racing, maybe. Maybe
Forza Horizon might be a good racing game because it's a little lean on it doesn't lean, sorry, on the simulation part. But I mean, dude, there's so many good games in other genres. If you're a FIFA addict, like Johnny said, I don't know if we can save you, but I would say Witcher 3 would be a good RPG to if you just wanted to dive into something crazy big. And Space Marine 2 sounds like it'll be a good action game. I got to get this dog. Something's going on here real quick. Let's the next question, I'm going to listen. Ransom asks, what's everybody listening to right now, and is there any new music you're enjoying? Also, chat, any new music? Can you please suggest music to us? Go for it.
Well, what's been interesting with me is that I recently discovered Breaking Benjamin, which is a band that kind of, I guess it has had its heyday already, like back in 10 years ago or something. So apparently I'm way late to the party, but I've been listening to quite a lot of Breaking Benjamin. It's pretty good stuff. I like the combination of.
Did you know that they did a trailer for Halo? One of the Halo games
did they
had. Yeah, they had their music.
Nice.
I think he's a phenomenal singer. I've got every single song from them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed the singing with the guitar. Yeah, I think it's great. You know, it's just like really good catching songs.
Yeah, a little depressive, you know, because he definitely...
they are on the emo line, right? Like some of them are over the line, and then, they skirt the line.
He's got a mental illness that he talks about quite openly. He's a hypochondriac as well as some other things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some are pretty dark, like the songs.
Some are pretty dark. But yeah, he did. Anybody in chat, if you can remind me which Halo it was, but they did. There was like a Halo Benjamin sort of overlap where they did a song while they were showing them play the game. There was a little cut, and I think it was Halo 2. They were in Halo 2. Thank you.
Oh,
yeah. So that's a good one, Johnny. Any others that you've found that like has sort of caught your attention?
I mean, a lot of video game music that I've found, but I wouldn't point to just one because I kind of do Spotify radio. So a lot of times I will discover like, wow, this is an amazing melody, and then it turns out maybe it's a Zelda game, or I've discovered many JRPG OSTs this way. But yeah, nothing beyond that right now.
I would say in the last couple of years, Unleash the Archers, I found later because they were on their second or third band when I first heard one of their songs, and I was like, I really like her voice. And she's definitely not necessarily newer, but somebody that I really like. Suzanne Sund, I'm going to pronounce that wrong, Sandafor. She's does Oblivion soundtrack. She sings a song at the end of the Oblivion Tom Cruise movie soundtrack, and I randomly found it, and I ended up following her a lot. I definitely find myself bouncing to all kinds of crazy shit. Like I'll be listening to 1960s shit, and then what is it, Greta Van Fleet? Randomly found them, and I was like, dude, fucking this is wicked. I thought it was 1970s music. I didn't even know that they were current. It was on the radio, and I was like, why are they playing all the time? Why are they playing this old music on a current pop channel or whatever? And then realized, they're a brand new band. They just sound like they're from the 70s. So that was good. Dramatic $10 super chat, just dropping by to support my favorite community. Can't wait to watch the show. Have a great weekend, y'all. Thank you very much as well. Masshole says the Starfield soundtrack is amazing. Baroness, haven't heard of them. Candy, haven't heard of them. A lot of people talking about Breaking Benjamin. I think you're not alone in that you either liked them originally or that you like them now. I think people forget that, you jump into something old, it doesn't mean they don't make stuff now. He hasn't done a bunch of shit.
For sure.
He did a remake of one of his songs with a female artist.
Dude, do you know who I'm talking about? Aurora Session.
Yeah, the Aurora Session. Yeah, I think it's Aurora, right? That was a
primo... I think she's Aurora, and they had some amazing harmonizations with her high voice.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and then Ben does his Ben stuff as the YouTube comment post. I think it's a top comment on that YouTube channel. Is somebody says the song is great, and then Ben does his Ben stuff, which is just like that fucking, like chortle. I mean, he's really good at certain things, and a phenomenal song. I've listened to that. Let's see. I've seen a lot of young people walking around with Nirvana t-shirts. Yeah, in the day it used to be every 10 years you had a fashion statement, and it's gone now. And it's the same with music. It used to be where these years this was in, these years this was in, and then in the last 15, 20 years, suddenly it's just everything is in. You can listen to anything, you can dress in any way, and it's all about, what you like. And we're seeing bands come up that have old style songs, It's crazy. Let's see. Pet Sounds has been on repeat lately. Pet Sounds. Do you mean like pets, like in the background meowing? Or do you mean a band called Pet Sounds? Not heard that. Doom Reaper says best OST is Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, Conan's the original Conan main theme is fucking awesome. Great music. Let's see. I recently started listening to Jelly Roll. I know who that is, but I don't think I've heard. You know what? I found Post Malone late.
Oh yeah,
very late. Yeah, like it a lot. Ghost, I listen to a lot. Faith, well, I don't listen to a lot.
Oh, dude,
Faith
I got to Ghost great. Recently too.
Yeah,
Ghost
Faith is one of my favorite
bangers.
songs, but he's got some bangers, but there are definitely also some others that aren't.
And they also got the dark themed.
Yeah, they got
stuff.
the dark theme, which I personally am totally fine with. But sometimes, some of their songs
it's not
aren't
always
for me.
the mood. For
there
sure.
There we go. That's a good way to put it. Sometimes that's not the mood.
Yeah.
Jake Thomas says, "Hey ACG, I heard you mention you play D&D. Just curious about it. If you play homebrew, I do. It's mostly home, but we do one-offs a lot of times where it's a group of people.
Is that a flavor of the D&D?
No, homebrew means you make the rules on your own.
Like from scratch or based on?
Yeah, from scratch. There's a certain number of dice, so every game, there's some game out there that uses every dice. I can guarantee you that. So you're not really creating anything on your own.
It's almost like you make a song, but there's already a song with those chords.
There's already a song in this chord. You can't just make your own chord and be like, no one's done this before. Yeah, but homebrew is mostly what I do, because I do not script for D&D games either. It's all off the cuff. So we have a rule system that sort of works for that. And then looking at a Twitter question, Def Ego says, do you see an influx of reviewers dialed in on what games don't have? Oh, this is weird. What games don't have versus what the game they're reviewing has. It might just be me, but it's getting rather annoying. Yeah, we talked about that. So I think that answer is fully in the podcast. We just talked about that. Weird question. Or weird, synchronizations. Yeah, synchronicity. Mark says, do you think we're a generation or two away from physical consoles becoming obsolete? No. They might look like PCs, but I think physical will reign for a long time. Or not reign, but they'll be around for a long time, right? I mean, even if we get amazing streaming services, games, people still want a console in their house. They'll still want a PC.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean...
Yeah, I think that won't change. It's kind of like the VR thing, where initially we said, well, everybody's going to just move to VR.
Right.
But actually, it turns out there's something really comfortable about, turning on your system, playing something on a monitor, sitting back.
And there's also something comfortable about sitting on your couch playing your console game.
Yep.
Not that you can't do that on
turning
PC.
Turning it on and without having to, juggle with your internet or whatever.
Goat says, what game or games do you guys think has the best leveling up experience where you feel your decisions actually matter and it's not just a +3 to attack?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It is a good question because we talk about this a lot.
I liked Fallout 4 a lot.
The leveling up with the perks?
Because the perks, they were so unique, all of them, and it felt like, because if people don't remember, based on the stats you got access to further perks on the different stat trees. So for example, intelligence has its own perks. And if you got a 6 in intelligence, you can access the level 6 perk. So you could start with a very powerful perk on that tree, for example.
Right.
So anyway, there were really cool things you could do by just starting with, doing a run or a playthrough based on one, almost like a roguelite thing, one archetype. Like, I'm going to do this one thing really well, and everything will revolve around that.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I would also say that any of those games that are a little bit freeform, where when you bear with me, because Starfield, most of their skills were okay. But there were a couple that I really did like, where you would finally level up and it would be a huge difference. For example, being able to pilot a whole different class of ships. Was it done elegantly? Not necessarily. But I did like the idea of the big bump. I do not like the plus 1% Diablo fucking, 1% faster attack. I don't like the 1% more damage. I don't like 1,000 runes attached to a sword to give me plus 5. I like it when it's like, dude, you can do a new thing. And to me, that's the best part.
I think I'm conflicted there because I like, obviously, feeling like I'm getting stronger in the game, right? Also, that is one thing that I missed a little bit in Fallout 4, because you don't get that type. Well, you do in some perks, like more damage with pistols, right? Or that type of thing. But I guess I want them to be meaningful, maybe a significant bump to attack speed or something you notice, rather than the 5% or the incremental. Maybe that's, I don't know what the best answer to that is, because you want to get stronger, but you don't just want perks that are simply you attack a little bit faster now.
Yeah, and I'm okay with the perk affecting. I like the idea of, let's say, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's sort of like, for a D&D fan, that reminds me of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Everything was on a 1 to 100 scale. And so when you got a skill that went up 10%, that was actually noticeable. Very noticeable. You'd be like, dude, that's a big bump. What I don't like is I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey right now. And I find myself, I don't mind the gearing system, but I find that when I attach something to it and it says plus 1% or plus 3% assassin skill, there's a nebulous thing to that, because assassin skill is also its own thing, which has its own numbers somewhere else. That is what actually bothers me, when it's nebulous on top of nebulous. So you get a weapon that does a certain amount of damage, and then it's like, and we add plus 4 assassin skill. So then you have to go into a different skill screen and look at your assassin skill, or it's right there at the bottom. I'm sorry, on a but it's a number that is it's 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon away. I like the 1 fucking degree. I like somebody saying, you are a knight, you are a commander, you are a sergeant, you are an admiral, you are the lord, and you get these bumps. For example, Starfield, I did like this one, which let you add more people to your ship. I wish it happened more often, because way at the end, which feels rewarding, but I would have liked the 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's like you get to add a whole other person to your ship. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a huge, because it also affects the role playing. This guy's in my ship, which means when I land on the ground, I can choose him to go with me versus him being somewhere else, some other place. That changes the role playing, it changes the impact, and it may have you spread out and look at other characters you wouldn't look at, because I like Andraj and whatever, and Sarah. I don't love Sarah, but Andrea. So I just like the big hits, man, and I get that Diablo and stuff, they have to have it, Johnny, because if they didn't, people wouldn't continue to play it.
Yeah, those are stat crunching games for like in nature.
Yeah, when you get that, when you crush that jewel that's plus 1 to make a plus 2, and I'm all, nothing could be more boring.
But at the same time, those games do a good job having those breakthrough points where
when you do enough jewels, something happens.
Yeah, or like, now I got to the point where I can use this skill that I couldn't afford to use before, and now I'm doing way more damage because I'm able to maybe I have the mana to sustain this skill that I didn't before, and now it's totally different. So you kind of have these breakthrough points where until you get to them is very incremental, but then you do have points where it changes a lot.
I would agree with you, and I would say
can equip a thing, that you
equip a new thing. I would say one big positive too, Johnny, is Mankind Divided, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. They had the ability to add your CPU upgrades, your cyberpunk upgrades, but then you could overclock it and have more ability. I liked that idea. That's like, oh, what does this mean? I think Cyberpunk did a pretty good job in some of their skills as well. Definitely better in the
with the rework.
With like the rework. Mm-hmm. But I like changing the world when I upgrade, because here's the thing: if it costs me $1,000 and I'm usually running around with 9,000, that's a good chunk of money. I want to see that returned in a good chunk of upgrade. And if it's incremental, then what you said, jewel, special power, that's also okay. It's just that when I see these percentiles that are so incremental that I can't tell what 1% is, what happens to me is I ignore the 1% till I get to that fifth jewel.
Yeah.
And that I think is, so here's what I think. When I'm going 1-1-1-1, boom, the 1-1-1-1 becomes blur and numb because I never feel it until I get the big one. And so to me, it's wasted work. Every time I go to the armory to hammer a new jewel, I'm like, I'm wasting my fucking time on +1 only because I want +5, which then gives me the skill. And that's when I feel the grind. When I hear other people talk about the grind, my grind is the numbness until the big. It's not it's that numbness that goes on. And then by the time I get to the 5, I may have already changed my mind. Like I may have got to 4 and I'm getting ready to get that 5th jewel in my sword. The sword looks like it's been bedazzled. There's fucking jewels all. It looks like I'm hanging a necklace off of it. And then when I get there, I'm all, oh, you know what? I don't play like I played 5 hours ago. I don't.
Or you're tired of this play style now.
Right. Yeah, I want those big. I think you hit it right where you said people hate it or love it. It really, I still think Fallout with the perk systems and big bumps that they do when you go down the level and you get a big bump, it feels good. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. Dead Man. Captain James says launch year SWTOR has amazing tree skills. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm playing Cyberpunk now. Those talents are nice. Says, I prefer to spend skill points for a new fancy move, SBZ says. I would agree. I think new fancy moves are the best bet. I love that feel. New fancy move. Assassin's Creed Odyssey does a pretty good job with that. Most of the things you are buying, well, Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla do a good job. Most of the things you're buying are moves, and I love that. I love feeling more able.
Yeah.
And a single move can change how a battle in a group occurs because maybe this move has some frames in it, iframe kind of thing, where you can't get hit. And you're like, ooh, this changes how I can go about this battle that maybe I got my ass kicked. Where a +1%, I'd be like, well, will I barely get through it now if I have +2%? And so seeing a new skill is awesome.
Yep.
What about you on this one? Stone says, I'm a fan of the older Yakuza skill systems. You get to really choose your style. How old are you talking about, Stone?
How old we talking?
How old we talking? I'm trying to remember. I like the job system. Yakuza's job system's pretty sweet.
Yeah, the job is very good.
Yeah, it feels good. You get different characters. I loved in Man Who Forgot His Name, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I loved that one where you could take, you had a battle arena and you could get like losers off the street and have them fight for you. Joe Bob, who only had the slap attack or whatever.
And you level him up.
Dude,
like you send him to training.
I'd get like the guys that were awesome and I'd be like, fuck you, you're already awesome. I want to get the guy in diapers to be able to kick ass. And so you're just like, that's the guy you choose is the guy in diapers.
That's great.
That's awesome. Terrence says, I like bartering as a skill because it affects how you interact with characters getting a deal from a merchant. It helps you roleplay, but it also changes where you go in a world. Let me explain that, because I think this is important. If you don't have a high barter skill, you may ignore the locations where bartering is more important. You may ignore going to a planet in Starfield because you're not getting great deals. You're just picking shit up. But then when you get a good barter system, now it's created a different funnel of gameplay. And now you're like, oh, this place is important to me now because now I can go get better deals. Going to him does make sense to sell stuff. That feels so good. Some of those side skills. What about social skills? I loved it in Starfield.
Like charisma.
I'm talking positive about Starfield. And sue me, the ability for you to use your little scanner, go in during battle and threaten somebody and have them run off in Starfield is pretty sweet. Like, I thought that was awesome, where if you buy enough skills, you can be like, dude, you better get out of here or I'm gonna fucking kill all you. And he's like, okay, see ya. He runs off in a shooter, which you don't normally see.
Yeah, that's true. Those are always cool, like the intimidation ones.
Intimidation
I love
is
doing
great.
that in Baldur's Gate and Divinity.
Yes.
Where, if you have enough intimidation, oftentimes you can just like bluff people where you're completely out of your depth in a fight, but you're able to intimidate them away from fighting you.
Yeah.
You just bluff your way through the game.
And I
sometimes.
love that in Starfield they did it during the action. You didn't have to talk to the person.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be in the narrative situation to have it occur. You could be in combat, which to me is like, by the way, that's what happens in D&D. You don't stop and talk to them. You're like firing. You'd be like, you guys better fucking go. I got grenades. And they're all, fuck that, I'm gone. Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, I'm out of here. Reading some of the questions, because I asked what systems folks love. SBZ says, he was talking about the skill systems in Devil May Cry. Then I also asked, what's your favorite skills in a game? Favorite. Turd says, I like intimidating in Baldur's Gate. People are terrified of my character. Oregon Fresh says, I run high charisma builds all the time. I like the extra dialogue options and sometimes getting out of a whole fight. Tembo says, double jump will always be my best skill after dash. That is so true. That made Rage 2
that's one
feel
of those,
good.
Like you say, that changes your gameplay. Changes what you can do. You can access loot that you couldn't before.
Yeah, true.
It's insane.
Access locations, get out of a battle situation quick if you can leap off their head and, go. Like, how many of those games, martial arts games in particular, will be like, if you press against the person, push a button, you'll flip over them. And when you get that, you're like, haha, because you're not in the center anymore. It's not like a gangbang.
Yeah.
You can escape it without, without taking a bunch of loads. Yeah, I said it. Stone says Yakuza 1 through 6, where you could unlock bigger, longer combos or unlock social skills or unlock alcohol buffs. True. Dead Captain James says low intelligence was amazing in Outer Worlds. Yeah, let's talk about that. What game handles low skills the best? Baldur's Gate does it. Fallout's done it really well.
Yeah,
Those
Fallout where you're
good.
dumb.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And the comments in the narrative are like, huh? Where you just like,
did you have any, I forgot, did you have any benefits from being dumb in Fallout? Yeah, dude.
So I believe in Fallout.
Were you lucky or something?
No, it wasn't that you were lucky. Well, first of all, you can spend low points and then mini-max somewhere else. But I'm pretty sure somebody had said that there were multiple weapons or enemies that couldn't trick you or couldn't do certain things because you were too dumb to have it happen. But it's been a while since I played that one. That's
amazing.
So
yeah, that's
Blinks. T-Monk is talking about Blinks Time Cat or Time Cop or whatever. There was a game called Blinks on the OG that had a ton of really time-centric skills. Yeah, it was awesome. T-Monk, like recording a clone of yourself. Yeah, that was great. You could destroy a bridge, walk over it, and then have the bridge fall apart after you get past it. So there were some awesome situations in that. Skills in games that handle them great are awesome. Club Xbox says, AI anti-cheat in PvP games. I saw a video on AnyBrain GG that looks like a game changer if it's working as they say. The creative director of the upcoming game Rings of Battle says they have confirmed that they are using it. So just so everybody knows, quick thing on this, AnyBrain is basically an AI anti-cheat system. I think that's the future of anti-cheat systems where they'll be able to test, if weird things are going on. But here's what I don't want, Johnny. Currently, we have people playing Dark Souls with a beat pad from the Nintendo or a guitar from a rhythm game.
Yeah, using a third-party thing to do the mapping.
So the skills are really high. I would not want that to be flagged, but also people's skill levels are insanely high. So if you do get somebody who's just good or lucky, by the way, I've played so many games because I just don't use cheat stuff. I played so many games where I had a lucky streak that was unbelievable. Just luck. You were on at that moment. I certainly wouldn't want the AI saying, you're too lucky. You can't play. So there's that. But AI systems are probably the future for anti-cheat, I think.
Yeah, I think the thing is they are very good at noticing the pattern. Because if you have something like a script that's helping you dodge something, so think about League of Legends or maybe a PvP, game, where you have a script where it's instant, right? The moment they shoot at you, your character is already moving, to the side to sidestep the projectile, for example. We had that in League, and it's now a lot better because they've added anti-cheat to it. So it's gotten a lot better. That is one thing where you could easily tell, someone being very good or being very lucky from someone who's scripting, because every projectile they will do it, and it will be instant reaction. Whereas a normal person, even if they're expecting the spell, it will vary. Like you might have one fight where you do it instant, but then another one you'll get hit by it. So it's the consistency, I think, where we see it.
I do want to read that while we were talking about all these games, some news hit that apparently Doom: The Dark Ages is in development and will be dropped at the Xbox event. So Doom: The Dark Ages. Keep an eye out for that. Yeah. I don't know if it's true or not, but there's been so many rumors behind the scenes about a Doom game being leaked at this Xbox event that I'm assuming that one's for real, that we'll get a Doom game. So, yeah. When it comes down to it, man, I think that, well, I don't know. I was going to say something that's probably pretty stupid, but I just personally want to say I love the events. I love the little tiny events. I love the PlayStation events. I love the Xbox events. I love that they can do those. But at the same time, quit fucking having your expectations too high for these goddamn events. Man. Dude, they're just an event for a company to show you some trailers. This shit, how many, dude, I feel like I'm 90, because I feel like every year for the past 90 years, somebody said, Bloodborne sure being shown at the next Sony event. And you just die inside each time because people always assume it's happening. It's like, let the event be the event. Don't assume anything. Hope for the best. But damn, just don't get too excited for these events, people. It's better to assume that they'll show you something that might be interesting and move on from there. Be happy once you see it, I guess. But don't get your hopes up for these events. How many times have we been burned by these events? I would say by far more not. Where there's like some story.
Especially these state of play ones. Those usually have been pretty
terrible.
disappointing.
Yeah. Admittedly, if that's Sony's weakness, it's their state of play events. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Those consistently do not meet the mark. And then we have to, you have to hear people say, oh, it's because they're holding back. It's because they're holding back. It's like, how many years are you going to hold back? It's like, games take a while to develop. They're probably not. They're probably just trying to figure out, when to announce stuff. Team Monk asked this question. I'm not sure if this is considered a power, but the time-hopping fan in Dishonored 2 that let you jump between the past and the present to get past certain areas was incredible. That's my answer. I don't even remember much about Dishonored 2.
I don't remember that, but that idea is really cool. I remember Braid, where if you remember the 2D
Ooh, yeah. I definitely
Braid,
do.
It had the time travel thing where you would, set the clock back and forward, and different things would be different places. You could change the gravity and stuff. All those types of things.
Yeah, I always liked the time stuff, especially for like destruction, the ability to destroy something, stand on it, then recreate it back to
something
its original
that
functions.
Like is no longer there. Now you just go through.
Yeah, that's some sexy stuff, man. Speaking of sexy, let's talk about something. Assassin's Creed Shadows. So you and I talked about this prior to this fucking podcast starting, but so Ubisoft decided to do a post, and they answered a bunch of questions. They talked about Shadows. But they also, I just don't know if I feel completely like I'm the only person. They started talking about who you can romance and how it's like each person will attract somebody else, and you can have different attraction layers. And I'm like, dude, could you please talk about the shadows and the stealth and the combat and the how you're changing the entire game mechanic versus if some villager is gonna think that they want my body because I'm a giant samurai. I don't know why people are trying to always thrust that kind of stuff into these games all the time. And otherwise, just let it be a surprise, because it always causes an argument. It's like, why are we talking about this stuff? But again, I am open to being wrong. So I guess anybody in chat, do you care that Ubisoft has now stated you can attract different people depending on each character in Assassin's Creed Shadows? Because I just don't know of anybody who ever thought that was the first thing they wanted to know about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like,
yeah, I think out of all the things in a game, who I can bang and in which position is like
position. That's awesome. I hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah. Apparently one can do doggy, the other can't. No.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like, certain characters support doggy, others don't. I don't know, man. In a way, I get it, right? If some people want to feel represented, right? Okay, like if you, for example, if you're gay and you want to be a dude in a game, banging other dudes, I get it. It's never something that I kind of look for in games specifically, is to identify with, who a character is romancing. I think the whole point of a game is to get into who the character is and what the story is. And that means different things than what you prefer personally. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's where I fall on it. I like you, I would rather just learn, by playing what it is that the character is like and what they're into.
Unless they announce that those characters can be used as spies that you romance, right? If you can, if there's a utility to those characters, they should have said
you're
that.
making it transactional now. You're saying
I mean, it is everything transaction.
Listen, you got great stats.
Humans. Yeah,
let's get it on.
But I mean, I like the idea of, I'm friends with this person. I've helped them out. They're gonna, they'll help me out. No issues with there. I don't even really have issues with this. It's just that it seems like such a weird thing that we see pop up when in games where it doesn't seem like it fits. If this is The Sims, it fits. If it's a game, and I had this complaint, no one agrees, but I did have the complaint in Mass Effect, where by trying to make everybody dateable or almost everybody thisable, at some point it lost the fact that Reapers are coming. It's like, dude, you do realize these robotic space tentacle creatures that can destroy everything are coming for you. It's like, yeah, but Lara, man, Liara,
that's all the more reason for, living every day. And
yeah. It's an odd thing. But again, that's just me. And when romance is handled well, I love it though. I think Uncharted 4 handled Nate and what's her name? Marriage phenomenally well. So good. I do appreciate it. It's just in the early run-up, it's a weird thing when you're looking at Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're all talking about, they say there's change in stealth and everything. Let's go look at their blog. And they're like, so when it comes to romance, and you're like, wait, what? What are we talking about? Like, I want to know how the shadows work. But, that's the way it is. It's just sort of light.
Yeah.
Optional love interests seem fine, just as long as it's not baked into the main story. Well, if it makes sense in the main story, I'm okay. But currently, we don't have enough data to know that. I'm just saying if it doesn't make sense, it feels a little weird.
Yeah, it reminds me of that book that I was reading that was technically about dragons and shit, but actually 40% of the time was spent describing sexual encounters. Because it turns out it was sort of like for, I don't know if it's for ladies.
Oh, you
right?
mean it might have been like a romantic novel almost?
Yeah.
With a fantasy background?
Yeah, and like there's some dragon shit happening, but a lot of it, I swear, is just a boning.
Yeah, I do want to point out, while I bitch about this, it's more about the timing and the framing. When it comes out, if it's if it's thought out, even if it's thought out that it's frivolous sex, I'll be fine with it if it's well done and thought out in the game. It's just currently at this time, I'm like, weird. And Doom Reaper just said a really good point. Ezio was the ladies' man. That fit into Ezio's character. Currently,
it played into the story.
It played into the story, yeah. So currently we don't see that, but it could. And I would say Alexios and Cassandra in Odyssey had hilarity in the sexual encounters and the goofy stuff to where it played on the humorous side. And that
also played
worked
into the Greek, like...
It did.
Stereotype that everyone's into sex and
You're
stuff.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Depends on how much you care about role-playing. Noob says Ninja Romance. Dana says, if it was on par to picking up a hooker in GTA 3, then I don't care. I forgot about GTA 3. It always gets brought up in romance because nothing more romantic than a moment with a stranger in the back seat of a Camaro.
Pay a few bucks and then...
Squeak-a, 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 squeak-a. Yeah. But yeah, it was a really weird, I mean, just like an odd moment and an odd pop where it's just like, why is this even a thing? Why are we discussing this currently? But it's just life. They put it in their blog. They chose to cover it. Something else that's been covered is Avowed and Indiana Jones will be played at the Summer Games Fest by people who've been invited or got passes, and we'll see previews the week after. That is going to be actually quite interesting because I think for me, both Avowed and Indiana Jones, I'm questioning what they are. I need to see them. I have actual, real interest in seeing both of those games. I mean, people who go to an event who play, I don't really trust anything they say, and I wouldn't trust me. That's just because it's an event. You get paid to go there. It's like it's a set demo usually of a very exact thing. It's not even a normal preview event. But I'd like to hear more about Avowed. I don't know what Avowed is right now. I don't really have a good grasp on that game. And Indiana Jones.
What's your level of excitement for Avowed? Is it up here? Down here?
Fuck, that's a good question. What's my level of excitement Avowed? I can give you an answer. Okay. I never, ever think about it unless I read about it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Does
Unless
that make
it
sense?
comes up.
Unless it comes. And when we get closer, then I will get... but I need more data. Right now, Avowed looks like Outer Worlds combat in a fantasy world, which doesn't... I need to see a better combat system there. I need to see more combat, which I would love to see in these videos. And then Indiana Jones, their choice of viewpoint and stuff, I just don't know. Don't know. I want to like it because I love Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I was going to say, funny enough, I have a higher excitement level for Indiana Jones than
I would agree.
Avowed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not even in a bad way, just a...
not that it can't be good. Just like you said, we don't know that much at all about it beyond like who's making it and stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. What else we got? Saint Inky says, if you make a James Bond game, it would be fitting. That is true. Oregon Fresh says, do you realize there's an AC game set in Africa? There is indeed. Also, Liberation is great if you guys haven't played that. Let's see. Connor's a Native American. Are people talking about... whatever. There's probably somebody who's going to be bitching about the characters in Assassin's Creed. I always forget that people bitch about that. I've always felt that like I don't take them too serious, so I'm not too stressed about who's in Shadows. I want to see the gameplay. I want to see if Shadows make sense. Destructible items. I don't know if you were in on that podcast. I think you were here when we talked about it on Friday. I think we talked about it on Friday is what I should say.
I think so.
But yeah, destructible stuff in like the castles, different seasons, all of that kind of stuff could be great. So,
dude, when it comes down to it, I've liked, I think, every Assassin's Creed game that I've played. Like maybe there's been one exception. I can't remember right now. But every single game that I can remember, I've enjoyed. And I've had issues with different games, different issues. But overall, I think I'm gonna have a good time.
With me, I have always found that patched up, they are very worthwhile. Non-patched, they can be rough. Unity is still rough. I tried to return to Unity, and I had bugs within the first 7 seconds, both on console and PC. It was ridiculous how fast.
I haven't played that one, so I never actually
haven't got a chance to
see the bugs and stuff. But yeah, I heard.
Hats off to Ubisoft, seriously. True hats off, true success to them that regardless of whether I like them or not, their level of quality, other than Unity, which was a anomaly, their level of quality in delivering of something, even if I didn't love the way Valhalla played as much as I've liked other ones, they have a good success rate. And it's a pretty high level of success rate. They also handled, whether we like it or not, they handled the switch from old style to what their idea of new style is very well with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. So it's just their thing. And then Mirage, it's like they went out and said, let's go back, try an older style one, and they did that, and they got Prince of Persia. They do some stuff that I really enjoy. Cantankerous Goat says Unity and Syndicate are the only AC games I've finished. Yeah, we have a huge AC contingent in our chat right now. Dude, our video game stream every night in the last 2 weeks, Johnny, has been at minimum 4 people playing Assassin's Creed games. I do not know if all because of Shadows, but we have people playing. We have people playing Rogue, Syndicate, 2 people playing Odyssey all the way through, and then Kig is bouncing between, I think, Rogue and Valhalla. It's been crazy to go in there and see that instead of, let's say, Xdefiant or something. I don't know, probably because of the desire to do Shadows, and play Shadows when it comes out. Wasn't a Prince of Persia roguelike game supposed to come out? Yeah, that's coming out soon. That's the one by the Dead Cells guys. Dead Cells.
Ooh, yeah. Nice.
And then, lastly, a couple little small updates. Well, nope, can't talk about that. Let me think. Yeah, so we have Prince of Persia coming. Capes got its reviews and was surprised. It actually reviewed quite well. I did a preview for that one. That's the superhero XCOM style game, and it got better reviews than I assumed it would get. It looks like it's been patched up a bit. So if anybody likes XCOM and likes superheroes, Capes is probably for you. You can't customize your heroes, unfortunately, when it comes to items or add your own powers. But it is each one has their own separate ability or power. Do you do XCOM games like that, or do you just usually do XCOM? I mean,
I've done a few of them. Sadly, a lot of them kind of let me down.
Yeah.
Or weren't exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, that happens for sure to me. Where it's like, here's XCOM in a fantasy world, and that's really all it is. Yeah. And its claim to fame is this other thing. What else do we got? Anything that's been burning a hole in your brain to talk about?
Let's see. Let me check. So we talked about the Space Marine trailer. Yeah, Unreal 5 is something I've been playing around with this week. So jumped in there. I'm doing a course about like how to build a third-person action game in Unreal 5. Learning a lot of cool stuff. It's interesting to see how the sausage is made, so to speak. Right. It kind of gives you a new respect for people who do this for a living, and you see the level of detail, in each room in a game, right? Like God of War, you enter a cave, and the amount of thought put just into that space is really cool. And then you think about the big areas where like big open areas, holy crap, like creating something like that is incredible. Yeah, it's been fun. It's cool how you don't really need to know how to program to use it, because Agreed. It has the blueprints on top. And even though C++ is like the language that I started with, so I'm very comfortable in it, I haven't had to do a single damn line of code. And, I got stuff running, and I can hook up different things, and it's all done in the UI itself. So it's very cool. Makes it very accessible for people to just get creative. If there's anything good to take out of this, like last 2 or 3 years, like anything, it's that a newer person can jump in and make something usable and doable in the engines now at a super high, super fast rate of speed. I mean, you have some some background in coding, so you probably know how trees and stuff where maybe somebody else doesn't. But overall, you can still get it running and still do something quite quickly and make stuff that looks good. It's awesome. It's awesome to see, man. Are you planning on building something, or are you planning on just are you putting things together and just sort of seeing how it all works out? No, for now I'm just planning on doing this course and learning a whole bunch of things there. And then basically the takeaway is, or the goal is to discover if this is something I might enjoy or not.
Yeah.
If I want to go deeper down that rabbit hole, or if I'm just happy to learn a bit about something different, a new skill set,
Let me
and
give you an
move on
idea.
from there.
I want you to do this for me. Make a 2D fighter that uses your amp and your guitar chords that you play. Make him do different moves. So like, and you can do combos.
Yeah.
So if you have like, C, you're like, and it's a punch because it's
Absolutely.
your generic,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you have like high and low kicks, and then you can put a little arpeggio together, and you can put a fucking combo together. Let's do it. You could make it.
That would be
I bet
fun.
you there's.
Yeah.
I bet you there's an input that lets you do that.
And maybe you make it like a rhythm game where almost like Hi-Fi Rush, where there is a tempo, and you play the chord to that tempo, right? So you kind of you have a window to play the chord, and it's like so it makes it a bit more musical rather than just.
Dude, I think that would be awesome.
That's a very
you
good
could
idea.
do it too, because you know music and stuff like that, and they already have MIDI inputs for a bunch of games that I'm sure you could get a blueprint of, and then I assign it like accuracy, like how to hit the timing just right. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, dude, it's going to be cool to see what you end up being able to make, because a bunch of people I know are using Unreal right now to put together D&D. Like they play a miniatures game, put together a little model, you can upload it, put it in Tabletop Simulator. Suddenly somebody can see the world you were getting ready to describe on your next D&D game. They can do it quite quickly. Very cool stuff, like beyond what I ever thought as a kid I would be able to do.
The stuff with metahumans where you can create a character and like merge the faces to create something unique is amazing. And the mega scans, which are huge scans of like geometry, like rock faces, cliffs, all this type of stuff. And you can blow it up as big as you want in 4K and still looks incredible.
Still looks incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Nanites
awesome.
The big like bonus to that. Because in the old days, you'd put a texture down, and if you got it too big, the texture would lose detail, everything fall apart. And now the way like all of the engines are handling all this kind of stuff, you can scale a mountain up and drop it onto some grass, and they actually know how it merges with the grass without looking like a mountain plopped on grass. You can do crazy stuff. I was asking people what they were looking forward to. So, Warhammer Vermintide just got an update. This is from Robert, that brought back Versus Mode and made some big changes to some of the DLC packs. That's crazy. Vermintide's still getting patches. SBZ says he's looking forward to Older Age. Tembo says Wukong, Space Marine, and Silent Hill 2 remake. Thank you for reminding me of that one. Saint Inky says looking forward to Crimson Desert. Shouldn't that be out soon?
Oof.
I don't know.
But
I would love to see some more footage.
Stuff, but
yeah. Doom says expecting ? All Activision backlog in Compat and Game Pass. Noob says Doom. Old Boy says Metaphor and Stalker. Turnoff says Silent Hill 2 remake and Doom. SBZ says Wukong. Terrence says I'm interested in seeing the new Call of Duty. Doom also says I feel Eternal ended the Doom story for a bit pretty well. Psycho says Kingmaker. Yeah, Kingmaker looks pretty insane. Kulabon says, I have a few Blender courses and I want to eventually build up to game creation. Terrence says, if the new Doom comes out in the winter, I'd be interested to hear about that. The Turd says Space Marine 2. And then Sailor Mercury says Gundam Breaker 4. Dude, a lot of people, man. Black Myth. Black Myth has a chance to
I think so.
Well, it seems like the excitement for that game is through the roof. It's a monkey, man. That's the excitement for me. It's a monkey, dude. I love the ability.
There's something about the mythology surrounding it that's quite enticing, right? Even for people like me who don't know much about it, it's just cool, the Chinese mythology stuff.
The ability to like grab your staff and put it in your tail and hit people. I don't know if you can do that. I like the idea of a monkey man with an extra,
like extending
a tail
your staff.
Yeah. Surround it like on a pogo stick to dodge enemies. Doom says Mutant League Football is also coming. Yeah, that is true. I forgot about that one.
Someone mentioned Metaphor. Have you seen like any gameplay of that? Anything?
No, that one and the other one Xbox announced about 5 years ago, the Cyberpunk 2D scrolling game, the night before or something, whatever it's called.
The last night or something.
The last night before. Whatever it was. I can't remember last night. Whatever it's called. It looked cool. And
it looked very cool. Yeah. Yeah, the Metaphor game, dude, I think that could be really, really good.
The Alters had some previews. and that looked pretty good. That's the one that is like the space wheel rolling across the planet, and you make copies of yourself to do the different jobs, and it's like a weird base builder / Death Stranding kind of thing. And I saw some previews for that. Replaced looks sick. I can't remember Replaced. You remember Replaced?
No. Let me see if I can find it.
A bunch of people are saying Replaced game. 2.5. Oh yeah, we did talk about this in our when it was originally shown. Yeah, it's 2.5, sort of an action platformer. Yeah, we did talk about that. That does look awesome. Very awesome. Stalker 2 is the other one. Oh,
yeah, it does. Yeah, I remember.
And Star Wars Outlaws. Thank you very much for remembering me.
Or when is that?
Remembering it, not me. That's September, October. For Star Wars.
So we got some good games in September then, with Space Marine and that one.
Doom Reaper says, is it too early to expect Ascent 2? Yes, Ascent 2 is not being worked on. That company is working on a completely separate game currently. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, at this time, no Ascent 2 is headed to us. They're currently working on other shit. I would like to see some news on... What? Oh, Commandos. It's a spelling error. That dude says, I'd like to see some news for Commandos Origins. Gotcha. Terrence says, the voice acting turned me off of Star Wars. I haven't even seen any voice acting in Star Wars. I mean, the little bits, the little talking parts. But I might have missed the trailer. I haven't seen much on that one. What else do we got before we wrap it up? Anybody in chat, you got any questions about life in general? You been reading any books, man? I've been diving into a bunch of D&D stuff, but nothing really. I haven't done any real science ones for a while. I haven't really been jumping.
Not too much, no.
I find myself ebb and flow. I think it's summer. Yeah. So I probably.
Yeah, it's kind of coming in waves.
Yeah. Yeah, where sometimes you're just like not in the mood for that kind of stuff. Doing shows. We finished Suits, the TV show Suits. We finished that up.
Well, I thought you didn't like Suits.
I didn't. It's not good acting at all. It's just watchable. But dude, my wife was watching it, so I was watching it with her.
I finished it recently. For many years, I was at like the final season, but I never finished it. So recently I finished it. The show has this thing where almost every scene, they have a conversation. It ends up with some type of drama, and one person walks out of the room dramatically. Like
it's straight up 90210
people walking out of the room
lawyers. Yeah,
over and over.
And it's the repeat thing where they say somebody says, "I'm not afraid." You will be. You will be. You know,
it's the mic drops. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's mic drops all the time. In fact, that's probably why I've enjoyed it. Is the mic drops. It's not great. It's watchable.
It's
I'll probably
not
watch
great.
it again as a background show, but yeah.
Yeah, it was like a lunchtime show for me, and I liked a lot. I would say, a lot of the characters. Like
I did too.
Some of the senior lawyers were very good, and then
let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah,
straight up. I got to interrupt you because I think this is important. Is Suits technically about Lewis as the main character? Straight up,
I think
Johnny,
in many ways it is, and him overcoming and accepting his insecurities and people embracing him as part of the group in a way as well. Yeah, for sure.
Come on, you can I was watching that and we were only second season in, and I told my wife, I'm like, I don't think this is about these two guys, because Lewis starts out as this one thing, and by the end of that show, he is the only character who is fully fleshed out without just having him randomly announce he wants to get married to somebody. He's the only character that sees these huge, massive ups and downs.
We see a character arc with Harvey as well, where he accepts his emotional side.
He does, but it's very at the end. It's like, okay, let's do this. And Lewis is and Harvey starts out amazing and stays amazing. Yeah. He's always considered the rainmaker, the end game guy, and Lewis is the one that behind the scenes is doing shit. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's very cool. But I think that's one of the strengths of the show, is that it's not just about the two main lawyers, Mike and Harvey. It is these other great characters that are insulary, but also driving the plot and the story, and you come to care a little bit about them too. So,
and Johnny,
yeah,
I got to tell you, when Lewis talks to a psychiatrist the last time, and he says, I want you to do this, and the psychiatrist says, listen, for the second time, if this happens, I cannot be your psychiatrist. And Lewis just looks at him and goes like, I don't need one anymore. And I was all,
I need a good friend.
Or
it's like,
it's like, and then he hugs him at the end, and I was like, dude,
it's great.
Aces. Like, see, that's the thing. That's why I watched it, because it's not great, especially when they're there, but when he's there, and I see this guy who's having real issues versus I'm too good for school, I'm too cool for school kind of thing. But instead, Harvey's like, or Lewis is just getting the shit kicked out of him left and fucking right, and he's dumb. He makes decisions we've all made. He's paranoid beyond all belief. He's paranoid to the point of ruining everything so many times. And also, Johnny, I think it was the third season, episode 1, I told my wife, I was like, why is it that these guys don't have a scripted meeting once a week with Lewis to tell him everything's fine? They would have fixed everything. Because he falls apart after a couple episodes every time because he starts to worry. And I'm like, I've had this, you've had this. You have an employee who needs a little human touch. They need a little bit more, and they're great. And they go, but then they fall.
Keep them on track. Like,
keep them on track and keep them knowing that things are going this certain way so they don't get in their head. I was like, Harvey, Mike, what are you doing? Meet up with him once and do you know who does? Alex, the guy from West Wing. He's in West Wing. He plays the replacement lawyer in like third season on. He is the one who sits down with Lewis and goes like, what now? Like, what's going on? And then tries to figure it out. And after a while, he actually ends up sort of mentoring him and being friendly. I really like that.
Yeah, I think the camaraderie was why I kept watching between Harvey and Mike. But also, like you're saying, Lewis and Harvey, where Harvey's like accepting him and stuff. That I never liked Mike himself. Actually, the character,
I agree.
He's very self-righteous, right? And very, very judgy. So it was a little bit annoying. But yeah, I was a bit mixed on the show, but I'm glad you kind of like pulled through. And
it's funny because Rogerio was telling me about it years ago, and I finally started watching it, and I was like, listen, dude, it ain't great. But I'm still watching it. He's like, yep. He's all, yep, that's exactly it.
That's
like,
pretty much,
there's just enough to pull you in. That's like some games, you'll play a game and you'll be like, this game is not great, but there's some underlying current that sort of pulled me through it where I'm all, you know what? Yeah. This is worth sticking through for this, these various reasons. Anybody in chat got any shows, movies, books that are like that where, the thing is, you don't have to love something to stick with it, man. You can like it. I think we've
especially for a comfort show. You don't need it to be incredible. I've started watching Resident Alien after you and a few people recommended. I finally got a service that has it, and it's enjoyable. I'm pretty early in, but I like how they set up. They do a good job setting it up where it's like, okay, here's the character. He's on this mission. He's in this situation. They kind of like set up the show in a way in the first episode, so you know what to expect. I like it so far. The comedy is on point with, the awkwardness and stuff.
His laugh, man, he's like, ha, 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 because he doesn't know how humans laugh, and I'm like, dude, that is so. Andy, it was good in Firefly, but that's pretty much, other than him showing up on Castle and he showed up on Rookie because him and Nathan Fillion are friends. I really haven't followed him that much, and I thought he was on point in Firefly. I thought he was one of the better as Wash, and he died in the movie. So I was like, in fact, when I heard there might be another movie this years ago, I was like, I don't know if I'm interested in it without him. And I heard about Resident Alien from like Amuti and other people. I think it was Kig. No, I told them about it. I can't remember, but somebody in chat wouldn't shut up about it. I was like, I'll check it out. First episode, a little dark. First episode's a little dark.
Yeah.
Like, I was not expecting him to do certain things. I was like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But then the sheriff shows up. And I'm telling you, the sheriff's comedic chops, that guy needs his own show. I don't know who wrote the sheriff's lines, but that guy is the funniest dude I've
haven't
ever
seen too much, but there was a line.
Dude.
about like when when the alien becomes his doctor, right? Where he says like, listen, you're gonna be my doctor. He drops a line about how like when he and his wife screw, he doesn't look at her face.
Yes.
But just in passing, he just drops that. Yeah.
If anybody hasn't seen this, I'm telling you, if they did a Telltale game in this world, I'm telling you, this guy would be everybody would assume he was the main star of the show, because and when he tells everybody to call him Big Black, right? Big Black, I think. And because he's a black guy, he keeps telling everybody to call him Big Black, and even the psychiatrist, the mayor, are like, that's problematic. Like, I don't.
Yeah, or he says like, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. All the other characters like, I'm not comfortable with that. And he's like, I'm not going to answer to anything but Big Black. Like, dude, what the hell?
And the doctor says like, oh, they call you Big Black because of your truck.
Oh yeah, and even the sheriff goes like, you're a funny guy or whatever, because that's not what it's for. Yeah. Oh, dude, so good, man. Good. It's so good. We're not selling it well, but I'm telling you guys, the shit is hilarious, and it's off camber and uncomfortable sometimes. Some of the stuff is
they almost do the Ricky Gervais thing where they say the uncomfortable thing on purpose, and they don't resolve the tension, because in so many of these situations, it would be so easy for them to resolve the tension, right? Mm-hmm. Say a nice thing at the end, and you wrap the awkwardness, with a neat sandwich,
bow, and you send it off.
But actually, no, they let it sit, and you're like, oh shit, like
there is some stuff. Have you seen the one where he becomes the gynecologist for a day, and he has to do and he takes that picture, and what he meant to do was look on Google on how to do the medical procedure, and he's down there and he takes a picture, and she's like, did you just take a picture of my vagina? And he's like, no, I was looking on blah blah, and then she takes a picture with him while her legs
it's like taking a selfie. Yeah,
dude, she's taking a selfie in the gynecological office. I'm like, what are these people? Because they're all rednecks. That's the other thing I like. Everybody's so redneck as somebody who lived in that kind of town. The bar owner and that one redhead, the barbs between each other about sleeping with everybody in town are on point. And they are dark, man. They are some of the darkest, most hilarious one-liners between two people. You're just like, dude.
That's good. And I love how his assistant, Asta,
Asta.
Yeah, she's constantly like,
like, what's he saying? Just in awe of the shit he says.
Like, what the fuck?
I was asking other people what they saw. Noob says, I watched Mad Max Fury Road and downloaded the game. Game's great. Salad says, looking forward to Factorio. Vita says, anybody know if Xbox Series Stick, I think he meant Xbox Series X, HDMI is 2.1, been trying to get 1440p 120 on Xdefiant, can only get 1080p 120. I don't know, but I know 120 is possible, but I don't know the mix there. Philian says, Harvey actor would be great as James Bond. Doom Reaper says, can't wait for Cobra Kai and Stranger Things this year. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be great. Wayne says, probably only relevant to UK, but people should really check out Clarkson's Farm. So that's for Johnny.
Haven't heard that one. Okay.
Doom Reaper says, if you're close to 40, rewatch City Slickers. Popovich says The Witcher had bad parts, especially last season. Dan says Planet of Lana. He's talking about a game that pulled him through regardless of it not really nailing it. Steam Hearted says The Good Place was a good show for this. I would agree with that, very much so. Let's see. Eternal says Trying on Apple TV Plus is my go-to comfort show. Trying. Okay. I'll check that out. Trying. Haven't heard about that one. Coolaban says, I've rewatched X-Men Evolution after X-Men 97 season ended. I'm having a good time. Doom Reaper says Resident Alien is the guy from Firefly. Wash. Yes, he is. Triple X started watching The Expanse. The Expanse is great. I didn't love the last 2 or 3 seasons, but I still think it's watchable. I'll watch it again without a doubt.
It's still a very good sci-fi show.
Very good. Dano says Midnight Mass was a show I didn't love, but I wanted to see how it went. Longmire on Netflix is great, a little slow. Longmire is basically Justified's older, slower brother, but it is awesome. I've watched Longmire 4 times all the way through. I'd also put Only Murders in the Building up there. It is a weird show, but I've watched every episode of that. Orville keeps getting better the more I watched it. It does. Orville's awesome. Black Sails, Dark Matter, another person for Orville. Deep Space Nine. I wasn't a fan of Deep Space Nine, but I get why everybody was. It's definitely a good show, regardless of my internal desire for it. And then Last Kingdom and Netflix, pretty good. Dude, pretty good? How dare you? Last Kingdom's one of my favorite shows of all time, man.
Really?
Uhtred,
Okay.
son of Uhtred. Dude, Last Kingdom is... It's
Prima.
beyond prima. Yeah, it is so great. Ted Lasso is such a good show. I saw Ted Lasso season 1 and I really liked it. Oregon Fresh says Last Kingdom is peak. That's good. Oregon Fresh and I finally agree on something. We can agree on Last Kingdom. I'm just joking. We agree on a lot of things. Last Kingdom is phenomenal, man. It is just a show that I thought it was going to be a low-level Vikings, and Vikings was so dark that it was hard to get through. I got through all of it, but I was like, okay, it's getting a little nitty-gritty. Then Last Kingdom came, and I was like...
Easy to watch,
but also dark, but also action-packed, and it was just fucking good, man. Orville was awesome too. Have you watched Orville?
Dude, I'm watching it currently. I'm in like mid-season 1, but so I'm slowly getting through it.
Dude,
I don't
know good. I love it.
Because I heard it changes the tone.
It
throughout.
does. So season 1 is jokey, slapstick a little bit. Season 2 is a little bit thicker in its story pacing and the way it wants to deliver a more serious story. And then season 3 still has some jokes, but it's very sci-fi. So it goes... and that was on purpose. He basically wanted to do a sci-fi show, but he thought the only way to really get it going would be the comedy. So he snuck
eased into it. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, they nailed some of the different ideas on stuff we talk about every day, whether it be gender, whether it be like races, the differences between them, whether it be space exploration, whether it be science and how science, AI, how it might change how humans deal and react to things. That guy's I'm not a big fan of him, but whoever's helping him write Orville, they do a really good job. Like that.
Yeah, and I like the episodic. We were talking about it the other day, this thing where every episode is its own kind of mini story. That's really refreshing,
and then they have a thread that might be in the background, you know.
Yeah.
I will say those threads become more important as you go on. They have like the undercurrent of what was occurring season 1
the overarching
season 2. Like thing. Fringe, I guess, where Fringe first season or Supernatural first season, it's like
Freak
Monster
of the Week a little bit.
And then Valhalla was same time frame as The Last Kingdom, which might be why I love Valhalla too. Yeah, you know, I think there's something to be said about fictions. And anybody in the chat, if there's a show that you like that made you think you might like a game more and you jumped in and enjoyed it, that's happened to me a lot. Where I've liked, you know, it's happened with Fallout. Look at what Fallout did. Dude, everybody I know was replaying Fallout because of the show. Yeah. Like every single...
Or
and Fallout 76.
Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Cyberpunk from Edge Runners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. I don't watch TV much, but I did watch The Last Kingdom. You're a good person. Vikings TV show was good, or was great too. Yes, it was. Fallout for sure made me go into Fallout 4 again. Is Fringe coming back? I don't think so. I think Fringe, though, everybody's doing their own shit. And unfortunately, Lance Riddick died. And Lance Riddick, he was dead in the show.
John Noble too, right?
No, John Noble's alive. Don't you do that to me.
Is he?
John Noble's alive, man. If John Noble died, we would be doing a podcast today.
Everything stops.
Everything stops. He's awesome in video games because he was Scarecrow. He's awesome in TV shows. John Noble as Walter is one of the best.
He's a magician with like what he can do with his face.
Yes, and he can play, especially in Fringe, when he plays the dumb, or sorry, not the dumb, but the mad scientist, and then plays what's the opposite of a mad scientist?
Evil smart,
evil scientist.
Yeah.
And he's Walternate, as they called him.
It gets scary, man. It's great.
That shit was scary. He was straight up really close to World War II, like evil scientist.
Yeah, evil scientist.
And then he was over here going like, I remember in the very first episode, they're driving, they hit a bump, and he goes, oh, and they're like, what? And he's like, I just peed a little in my pants. Don't worry, it was just a squirt. And I was laughing so hard going, what the fuck is going on? Like, who is this guy? And it rolled on from there.
Yeah.
Have we discussed Elden Ring already? We're being asked.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Not much to discuss. Waiting for that DLC to drop. I'm watching Parasite the Grey on Netflix, and I'm about to close out Three Body Problem. Fringe is also peaked.
So Three Body Problem got a second season confirmed, right?
It did.
Are you gonna watch it?
I will watch it. That's as far as I can go. I felt that
you're not all the way there.
Acting was like pretty bad at times, and there were a lot of leaps in logic to just tell a story. So I'll watch it. I'll watch it. Did you watch it? Season 1?
Yeah, I did. I thought they did an okay job adapting the story from the book.
Right.
In a way that, like, you know, it's all there. But yeah, it is, as you say, some stuff isn't connected that well because they have to rush it, right, to fit it into a season.
And we see that with games too, right? Well, I mean, you see it with Mass Effect 1 and 2. They changed entire technologies. They killed Shepard for just because PS3 finally getting Mass Effect and they had to figure out a way. And so it's like, let's kill him. But they also made some adjustments. I think with Three Body Problem, the same sort of thing happens where there's a jump in logic at times where I just sit back and I'm like, okay, whatever. I watch it because I like the characters. Or at
you
least
sit back,
their
you enjoy the fiction. That's how I think people should watch it. The big problem is that they didn't manage to make you care about any of the characters.
I don't not. Think. Thank you.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird when you see a show like that and you don't care about anybody?
Yeah, because there are too many characters introduced quickly, and we don't spend much time with them.
Right.
And they're not that likable, honestly.
No, and they start out making you know they're unlikable. Like the very first episode, they're talking about the black guy who's a scientist, and they're dissing on him because they think he's just banging the one girl for no reason. Weird stuff like that. And by the time you get to know him, you're like, yeah, he's not really that good of a guy. None of these characters, but it's not that they're not good. It's that they're not good and interesting. If they're not good and interesting, I can buy into that. But they just were not good and not great. The acting is a problem in that.
Yeah, I think so. It's also, again, it's all done kind of rushed. So it seems very weird that these specific people who are interconnected, they know each other. They just happen to be a critical part of this whole thing that's going on.
Yeah.
With...
Yeah, it's just that, as somebody else pointed out, the criticalness always hinges on that group. So, like, the best of the best is always from that group. The one that matters is this guy. The one that is this guy. It is from
that group.
It's
from
all that group.
Around those.
Yeah, and when you look at millions upon billions of people who may know about the
what are the odds
to send
that
somebody,
these, 12 people, like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is a lot of people.
It is a lot of people.
Yeah, I get it. And, they don't do any favors with the first episode where it's all set up and there's no sci-fi. Like, it takes a while to get to the sci-fi, but I promise it's good, guys. There's some great effects in there if you stick around. Like, some pretty crazy
I might
stuff.
go as good as... Would I say it's good? I would, yeah. Yeah, it's good to average. I don't know. It's a hard one because some episodes were really good. How about that? It's a little
it's
mismatched.
very mixed.
I guess that's what I would say.
Very
yeah.
mixed.
So there were episodes where I was like, I definitely want to sit here and watch another one where I'm interested. And then there were others where I was like...
Yeah, you have to drag yourself through it.
Yeah, I think I'll watch another one because I'm too lazy to hit the button on the remote and find something,
Yeah, like Netflix is just like playing the next one and you're like passed out. Like, okay, like, I'll expose myself.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll sit through this again. Speaking of sitting through this again, it has been 3 hours and 4 minutes and 29 seconds of this podcast. I want to say how much I appreciate everybody sitting through it, joining us on discussions. If you want to continue those discussions, you can come into the Patreon, become a member here on YouTube, and you jump in. The awesome place to talk about games. Sometimes it's not, but, that's life. Sometimes you have a bad episode. And that happens. That happens in podcasts.
Not everyone is a banger.
Not everyone's a banger, man. Like we got some gentlemanly looking people on this podcast, and then you got me. Not everybody's a banger, man. Sometimes you got Carrick in your show. That's what happened. But if you guys want, you can jump in, join us. You can also jump in tomorrow, Saturday, 6 a.m., I believe, for Johnny Plays Live on Twitch, streaming what?
Yeah, I'm streaming Hellblade 2. So that will be day 2 of playing the game. And yeah, jumping in, checking things out, looking at rocks a lot. It's great.
Just that's all you're doing, rocks. For me also, you'll be seeing some previews. It's not a big heavy time frame for games. So if you do watch for reviews and you ever think, hey, is Carrot going to do a review? Yeah, just Hellblade 2. I'll be doing some others, but you might see some other videos from me. I want to do another cutscene video, but I haven't decided if I'm going to because it did so poorly, but it was still fun for me to do. You'll see us on the podcasts. There'll be a preview coming up, maybe 2, depending on the time frame. Just trying to figure out what to sort of release and go from there. And then also this podcast, most likely in the next 1 to 2 weeks at most, I think we're going to switch to its own channel because of the YouTube algorithm changes that have just hammered this. So we'll most likely, I'll probably do one here, maybe the last one, and then we'll continually spam the link in chat and stuff like that to go to the new subscribe for those people who want to watch. But that'll be it for us. I want to say thank you to Johnny for showing up to the Friday podcast. Hope Silver and Absy have a good time in whatever they're doing. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Don't die. That's like the most important thing. Just don't die.
And have a great weekend.
That's super important.
While doing that.
Oh, yeah. Have a great weekend, by the way. Yeah, there's a positive. Anyway, check out the Patreon. Peace out. Don't die.